Chapter 341. Tang San himself had 2 soul bones, while Zhu Zhuqing and Ma Hongjun only had 1 soul bone. The reason why they could withstand the strength of a soul sage was that not only did they have 1 soul bone, but they also ate immortal medicine and underwent special physical training. Under the combination of these conditions, they could withstand such a powerful force. Otherwise, their bodies would explode and they would die. The power that Saul displayed just now had surpassed that of a soul emperor. If he didn't eat the immortal medicine, the situation should be the same as Dai Mubai's guess. He had 2 soul bones in his body, or one of them was older. I think that even if the others in the Avengers Alliance don't all have soul bones, that Steve definitely has 1 too. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to withstand that hammer strike just now. Tang San analyzed with a look of certainty. A long time ago, he had seen that the 2 core figures in the Avengers Alliance were Steve and Saul. Looking at the situation now, he was right. The 2 of them could break the powerful combination skill of the Weevil Academy. Yes, I think so too. Dai Mubai nodded. At this moment, Ning Rongrong suddenly asked, "Third brother, didn't you just say that the 2 of them didn't use a martial soul fusion skill, but combination skill? Now that the fight is over, I can't see anything." "It's the martial soul," Zhu Zhuqing suddenly said. Feng Ge said that the way to distinguish whether it's a martial soul fusion skill is very simple. See if there are any changes in the other party's martial soul. Although Saul and Steve's soul power and soul rings have affected each other just now, their martial souls didn't fuse at all, so it's not a martial soul fusion skill. Tang Sen nodded. That's right. Takechi's observation is very sharp. Although the 2 of them will usually use a martial soul fusion skill, it's not because they can't use it. On the contrary, the 2 of them can use it more smoothly. It's just that the power of the martial soul fusion skill is not as good as the martial soul fusion skill, so they usually won't use it. Tang San's meaning was very simple. When 2 people were fighting together, the power of a fusion skill was stronger than a combination skill. Therefore, they would usually use a fusion skill and not a weaker combination skill. Combination skills were more like soul skill amplifiers. They could borrow the soul power of others to strengthen their own soul skills. On the other hand, fusion skills were a qualitative change. Unless there were many inhumans, fusion skills were usually much more powerful than combination skills. Now that the 2 of them have used a combination skill, it's very powerful, but I reckon that they're still holding back. They definitely have an even more powerful martial soul fusion skill that they haven't used yet, Tang San said cautiously. So that's how it is. Everyone suddenly understood. In fact, Feng Ge had told them about this before, but their thinking was more rigid and they didn't think in this direction. He clearly had a stronger fusion skill, so why didn't he use it and use a weaker fusion skill instead? Who would have thought of this? Then, could it be that they don't know how to use fusion skills, so they can only use combination skills? Ma Hongjun asked. These words stunned everyone because this was a possibility. Not everyone had Feng Ji's guidance, and not everyone knew how to control soul power. The few of them were able to master martial soul fusion skills skillfully because of Feng Ge. It was really too difficult for other soul masters to use martial soul fusion skills. At least for so long, they had met tens of thousands of soul masters, but less than 5 of them were able to use martial soul fusion skills. From this, it could be seen how difficult it was to use martial soul fusion skills. If you think that the Avengers Alliance is weak, then you can think of it this way. Tang Sen paused and said, "A lion uses its full strength even when hunting a rabbit. Hiss, halfway through his words, Xiao Wu was dissatisfied with Tang San's analogy and pinched him. Feng Ge could say that a lion was hunting a rabbit, but she couldn't say that about third brother. She would pinch him if he said it. What's wrong, third brother? Ning Rongrong was stunned. They didn't see Xiao Wu's actions. Nothing. Tang San took a light breath, glanced at Xiao Wu, and then said, "What I want to say is that since we treat the Avengers Alliance as a strong enemy, then we have to treat them seriously. Even if there's only a slight possibility that the other party knows martial soul fusion skills, we should deal with it with all our strength. Only by imagining that the opponent is strong enough can we feel a sense of crisis. Hearing this, everyone fell into deep thought. After a long while, Oscar said, "Third brother, your words are becoming more and more like Fengge." "No way." Tang Sin broke his silence in a second. He touched his head and chuckled. "I just heard Fengge talk too much. These words are actually what I learned from Fengge." Speaking of Fengge, it seems like I haven't seen Fengge for more than a week. I don't know where you want to play. Ning Rongrong sighed. Fengge comes to watch the competition every day. Haven't you seen him? Ma Hongjun raised his eyebrows. Yes, he usually sits in the northeast corner. We can see him every day. Oscar nodded. Ning Rongrong saw that the two didn't seem to be lying. She then looked at the others and saw that they all seemed to be taking it for granted. Ning Rongrong asked in a daze, "You all know? Why didn't anyone tell me?" Everyone nodded. Dai Mubai said, "I saw that everyone would look over there every time after the competition. I thought everyone knew." Boss Dai is right. I think so too. Ma Hongjun nodded. Everyone nodded silently. They felt the same and almost said, "Me too." Ning Rongrong, she had a mental breakdown. Everyone knew about it, except for her. Her IQ had been exposed in an instant. How embarrassing. At this moment, Ning Rongrong wanted nothing more than to find a hole to hide in. "Rongrong, everyone knows that you like Fengge. How can you not know this? You're not qualified. You can't be his sister-in-law in the future," Ma Hongjun said casually. This caused Ning Rongrong's face to become red as she yelled, "Damn fatty." Everyone burst into laughter. They were very happy. Zhu Zhuqing was also very happy. However, she had a strange feeling in her heart. She knew about Feng Ji's position. Was she qualified to be a sister-in-law? At this moment, Lin Feng, who was being discussed by everyone, had already left Heavendo City. He returned to the ice-fire Yin-Yang well and began the day's ripening. If Lin Feng heard Tang San's words just now, he would definitely be deeply moved. This little guy could be considered to have matured. When they became sworn brothers in the Holy Soul Village, they actually had a playful heart. It was quite interesting to be the big brother of Xiao Wu and Tang San. However, after spending so much time together, they really treated him as a younger brother. Humans were not plants. How could they be emotionless? Not to mention that the plants in this world had feelings. Chapter 342. Today, Lin Feng didn't hasten the ripening for long, and soon he left. He already had some fruits on him, and today he was going to send them to the Holy Spirit Village to let old Jack break through to Soul Grandmaster. This matter wasn't unexpected at all, but this time he didn't swagger into the village. Instead, he secretly found old Jack. Then, he secretly went to the Mani Forest beside Nodding City with old Jack. And it felt like he was traveling at night. But it didn't matter. Anyway, when they came out, old Jack had already become a Soul Grandmaster. At this point, old Jack finally understood that Lin Feng, this child, was very promising. He had specially inquired about the previous fruit, and it wasn't a smart fruit at all. Even Master Su Yun Tao of the Martial Spirit Hall had never heard of it. And now, the moon fruit was also a good thing. These things were definitely obtained by Lin Feng when he had the ability and was promising. Giving it to him now was filial piety. This was really a good child. The moment he became a Soul Grandmaster, old Jack was very emotional. Fortunately, he didn't send Lin Feng to Nodding City back then, and kept him. "Grandpa Jack, this moon fruit needs a while to be digested. Next time I'll bring good things back. When the time comes, I'll let you directly become a soul elder." Lin Feng laughed. "Little Feng, your grandpa's lifelong dream is to become a Soul Grandmaster. Now that I fulfill my dream, I don't really pursue other things. If you have good things, you should think about yourself first. You really don't need to care about me." Old Jack knew that Lin Feng was filial, but he really didn't need to be like this. He was already satisfied with being a Soul Grandmaster. "It's not easy for you to come back. How long has it been? And you're back to see me again. You don't have to come back often in the future. You have to cultivate well and strive to give our village a title Douluo." Old Jack's face was full of expectations. Back then, a soul sage had been the pride of their village for countless years. If Lin Feng could become a title Douluo, then old Jack could brag about it for the rest of his life. "It's all right, Grandpa Jack. I'll be back pretty soon. I can come back to see you any time in the future." Lin Feng smiled. "Xiao San is impressive. I'm sure he will become a titled battle pet warrior in the future. By then, our village will be known as Douluo's village." Xiao San is smart, but I think you little Feng are smarter. In the future, you will definitely become a titled Douluo faster than Xiao San." Old Jack laughed. Lin Feng smiled and didn't say anything. After sending old Jack home, Lin Feng didn't stay any longer and quickly left. Every time he returned to the Holy Spirit Village, Lin Feng was very happy. Looking at old Jack's smiling face made him feel very comfortable. In Heavendo City, the preliminaries continued. In the later stages of the competition, the teams were actually more restrained. After all, many teams were tired after fighting for so many days. If they were seriously injured at this time, then the rest of the competition was basically over. No one was a fool. Basically, they would stop when it was appropriate to conserve their strength. Today was the 27th round of the competition and also the last round. In fact, there was no need to compete anymore because the top 5 were already out. First place, Oakland Academy, 26 wins. Second place, Shrek Academy, 26 wins, 25 wins. Third place, Sanhui Academy, 26 wins, 24 wins. Fourth place, God Wind Academy, 26 wins, 22 wins. Fifth place, Thunder Academy, 26 wins, 22 wins. Sixth place was Blazing Academy. Their record was 20 wins. Even if they won today, they wouldn't be able to enter the top 5. Therefore, the last day of the competition was actually just a formality. Even if the top 5 all admitted defeat, they would still be in the top 5. Among the top 5 academies, the other 4 academies were considered normal. Everyone knew that these academies should be in the top 5. However, this Sanhui Academy was a dark horse. Not only did the crowd not expect it, even Lin Feng was a little surprised at that time. This Sanhui Academy, in the first 10 days, was extremely lucky and met some weak teams. They didn't meet any of the 5 Elements Academies and only met Shrek Academy and Oakland Academy. They admitted defeat in these 2 matches and didn't choose to fight hard. Under such circumstances, they actually won all the way. Later on, they ran into the Elephant Academy first. Although the Elephant Academy was beaten by various strong academies, they were still the second-tier powerhouses. The teams they met later were basically crushed. And when they met the Sanhui Academy, everyone originally thought that it would be a one-sided situation. Sanhui, this weak chicken, definitely couldn't beat the Elephant Academy. However, the final situation was one-sided, but it wasn't the Sanhui Academy that lost, but the Elephant Academy. The Sanhui Academy hit it very well. They actually used a 7-man combination skill. Some people who didn't understand saw it and thought that it was a 7-man combination skill, but the higher-level Soul Masters could see that it was only a 7-man combination skill. However, the 7 people's martial soul affinity was relatively high and was a little stronger than the average combination skill. Under the blessing of such a powerful soul skill, what Elephant Academy was simply a little brother. Speaking of which, the Elephant Academy team was also miserable. They were clearly a strong team of 5 elements, but they were abused in all kinds of ways. They were simply doubting life. In the following battles, the Sanhui Academy didn't hide anymore. When they met a team, they used a combination skill at the beginning. After that, they advanced all the way and won all the way. In the end, they directly became 3rd place. To be honest, Lin Feng didn't pay much attention to this part of the original work. There were fighting spirits everywhere, and he was tired of it. He didn't know that the Sanhui Academy had this trick up their sleeve. He remembered that the team leader of the Sanhui Academy was killed by Tang San, and a group of students seemed to have gone crazy. Of course, the situation now was much worse than in the original work. The Sanhui Academy didn't dare to be presumptuous with them. When they saw the Shrek Academy and the Oakland Academy, they all pretended to be obedient. After all, these 2 teams had the title Douluo behind them. Although the Sanhui Academy came up with a new trick they were still very weak in the face of these two teams. They knew that the Tsanghui Academy had hidden their strength. What about the Shrek Academy and the Oakland Academy? It was impossible that they didn't hide anything. Now that they had gotten a spot in the finals, their biggest trump card had been released. They didn't know how far they could go in the future. When the time came for the positioning competition, they shouldn't be too sharp. They should take a good rest and strive to enter the top 3 in the finals. With the spots almost confirmed, the teams participating in the last day of the competition were actually absent-minded. And the audience was also paying attention to the 5 teams that had already locked in the spots, especially the Oakland Academy. The whole audience was cheering for them. Chapter 343. On the last day of the competition, all the important figures who appeared at the opening ceremony appeared again today. They were going to present the awards later. In the arena, the staff had already started to set up the venue. Because there were more important figures, although many academies with negative attitudes chose to admit defeat and were too lazy to fight, most of them still wanted to show off. Especially the top 10 teams in the rankings, many forces valued them. If they performed well, they might be roped in. However, by noon, all 27 rounds of the preliminaries had come to an end. The top 5 academies were Oakland, Shrek, Tsanghui, Divine Wind, and Thunder. Divine Wind and Thunder had the same number of wins, but Divine Wind Academy had defeated Thunder Academy, so they were ranked 1 place higher. Amidst the cheers of the audience, the 5 teams walked up to the podium. The MC shouted, "Next, let's invite His Majesty, 7 Treasures Glaze Sex Sect Master Ning, and Marshal Soul Hall's Platinum Bishop Sakas. The 3 of them will personally present the qualification certificates and competition prizes to the 5 teams in the qualifiers." This was just a formality, and it was nothing. Lin Feng's 7 doppelgangers stood expressionlessly in the center of the podium, emitting an unapproachable aura. The other academies were also tactful and stood very far away. Not only them, even Feng Huai, the team leader, was quite a distance away from the 7 of them. Of course, it was not the 7 participants who came up to receive the awards, but the main force, substitutes, and team leaders. The other academies were not as calm as Lin Feng. Hearing the overwhelming cheers of the audience and seeing the snowy Night Emperor, Ning Fengji, and Sakas walking over, they were very excited. These people could not hide the excitement on their faces. Lin Feng focused on observing the reactions of everyone from Shrek Academy. There was no need to talk about the substitutes, as Lin Feng was too lazy to even understand them. He only had a slight impression of Tai Long. Among Shrek's 7 monsters, Dai Mubai was relatively calm, with a faint smile on his face. He looked in the direction of the snowy Night Emperor, and no one knew what he was thinking. Ning Rongrong stared at Ning Fengji with pride on her face, just like a little girl showing off in front of her father. Ma Hongjun kept waving his hands, enjoying the cheers from the audience. Oscar was a little nervous and stood in the middle of the crowd in a daze. Xiao was talking to Tang San, and she was a little nervous. After all, it was a soul beast, and there were so many people around. How could she not be nervous? While Tang San was talking to Xiao Wu, he was actually observing the 7 doppelgangers of Lin Feng, as if he was trying to figure out something. When Steve gave him a sideways glance, Tang San looked away. Finally, it was Zhu Zhuqing. Lin Feng found that this girl was looking at the northeast corner of the Great Soul Arena. What's in the northeast corner? Because Lin Feng was observing them from Steve's perspective, he did not react for a moment. But soon, Lin Feng's main body was stunned. Wasn't the northeast corner where he was sitting now? Thinking about it, Lin Feng looked at the Shrek Academy. Then Lin Feng found that. Zhu Zhuqing suddenly looked away, and her heartbeat sped up a little. This. Lin Feng was a little stunned. As a soul ancestor level soul master, their physical fitness was extremely strong. Generally speaking, unless it was a fierce battle, their heartbeat would not speed up. Running around Heavendo City was like taking a stroll, and their faces were not red and their hearts were not beating fast. At this time, Steve's doppelganger heard it very clearly, and Zhu Zhuqing's heartbeat became much faster. This girl, she can't really fall in love with me, right? When he let her try the yearning broken sausage, Lin Feng felt that this girl liked him, but he didn't think much of it at the time. After all, he was too outstanding, and there were many people who liked him. When he was in Nodding City, there were little girls who sent him love letters. Didn't Ning Rongrong like him too? Lin Feng felt that they were just little girls, so he didn't pay much attention to them. A bunch of little brats. Although they looked a little mature, they were still very childish. Only Tang San was a little more mature. Little girls at this age only liked him subconsciously. The slightest problem could change that kind of love, and it could not stand the test of time. He still remembered a junior high school classmate in his previous life. In the first year of junior high school, she liked Wei X, but in the second year of junior high school, she didn't like him anymore. She turned around and liked another Zhang X, and in the third year of junior high school, she changed again. How could Lin Feng take this kind of love seriously? It couldn't stand the test of time. Lin Feng felt that Ning Rongrong and Zhu Zhuqing worshipped him more. After all, the strength he displayed was extremely strong. Originally, Lin Feng thought that as long as he didn't interact with people often, this kind of love would slowly fade over time. But now, Lin Feng realized that Ning Rongrong's feelings were similar to his guess. However, when it came to Zhu Zhuqing, it felt wrong. This girl never said anything, nor did she say that she liked anyone. She was also relatively quiet. She would usually stand there silently and listen to her teammates talk. But at this time, when she went up to the podium and heard the cheers of the audience, it was usually when she became more and more excited. This kind of excitement and joy would usually be shared with people close to her to express her joy. And Zhu Zhuqing had actually looked at him just now. This girl had really fallen in love with him. In half a year, Lin Feng basically didn't spend much time with Tang San and the others. He didn't expect that this kind of love didn't disappear, but instead became stronger. Lin Feng didn't have much to say about this. Zhu Zhuqing's figure was good, and she was beautiful. When she really grew up in the future, if she still liked him, Lin Feng couldn't let her down, right? As for now, she was too young. Lin Feng couldn't do it. Just as Lin Feng was thinking about this, Shui, Ning Fengji, and Sakas arrived on the podium. Shui swept his gaze across everyone, especially those from Oakland Academy and Shrek Academy. After that, he said, "Children, I want to congratulate you for successfully qualifying for this year's Elite Continental Advanced Soul Master Academy tournament. I, Shui Yi, as the ruler of the Heaven Do Empire, am proud of you." He blabbered on and on. In the end, he even conferred the title of Viscount to the team leaders of the 5 teams. The rest of the team members were all conferred the title of Baron, the kind with land. This was a pretty good reward. Normally, a soul master who became a soul elder and served the empire would be conferred the title of Baron. However, it was just an empty title. Furthermore, you couldn't reject the empire's recruitment. Chapter 344. There were many barons with empty titles in the empire, but they were useless. They were just a title and didn't have any real power. It was different for lower titles. There weren't many of them in the empire. After all, there were only so many territories in the empire. A baron with a territory was no worse than a viscount with a title. Now that the 5 captains had been conferred the title of viscount, their status was still very high if they had a territory. This kind of conferment had never happened before. The Snowy Night Emperor also felt the pressure from the Martial Spirit Hall, so he wanted to be on good terms with these academies. As he spoke, Shui had finished giving out the credentials and gold coins. "Your Majesty, this doesn't conform to the rules. There has never been a direct conferment of titles before," Sakas suddenly said. A Soul Douluo couldn't compare to the Snowy Night Emperor in terms of status. A title Douluo was more appropriate. However, as the head of the Martial Spirit Temple, a Platinum Bishop, and a guest of honor, Sakas was barely on par with Ning Fengji at this moment. He dared to speak to Shui Yi like this because he was backed by the Martial Spirit Hall. Shui Yi suddenly laughed. "Bishop Sakas, do we have to report to the Martial Spirit Hall when we confer titles in the Heaven Do Empire? These 5 teams are representing the Heaven Do Empire in this tournament. My conferment of titles is merely a reward for these children because I admire them. Today, I have to make a promise to all of you. No matter who among you, as long as you can help the Heaven Do Empire win this competition, Not only will all your titles be promoted, but your academies will also enjoy the financial support of the empire. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air when they heard Shui Ye's words. This reward was too amazing. A title with a territory was very precious. If they won the competition, the captains would be promoted to earls with their own territories. Such earls could directly enter the core of the empire's power. This showed how important this competition was to Shui Yi. Sokka's expression darkened. He had just said that anyone who made it to the finals could join the martial spirit hall, and the Snowy Knight Emperor had conferred titles. Wasn't this cutting off his path? However, he couldn't refute the Snow Knight Emperor's words, which made him very uncomfortable. In reality, such words would not be said out loud. After all, such conflicts would be deliberately concealed. However, Shui Yu was very smart. He had chosen the right time and place. He had deliberately said this in front of Tang San and the others to embarrass Tang San. This way, he would be able to pull Tang San and the others to the Empire's side. And the effect was very good. Among the 5 academies, apart from the few people from Akla Magic Academy who didn't have any change in expression, the other 4 academies were full of excitement. Oscar and Ma Hongjuan's faces were filled with excitement, and their hearts were filled with fighting spirit. They had to get first place. That way, they would be able to become viscounts and have their own fiefs after graduation. What kind of situation was this? To use an analogy, Zhang Lixing thought. A commoner soul master was equivalent to a poor scholar in the ancient times of his previous life. A baron was equivalent to becoming a grand scholar, while a viscount was equivalent to becoming a 2nd or 3rd in the imperial examinations. And the number 1 scholar was equivalent to a count. Because of this, everyone was so excited and full of fighting spirit. The Snow Knight Emperor nodded in satisfaction. He ignored the ugly expression on Sokka's face and smiled at everyone. After the preliminaries, there will be a promotion round, which is also a ranking round. All the teams that qualify for the finals from the various regions of the Heaven Do Empire will come to Heaven Do City to participate. However, the venue this time will not be the Heaven Do Great Soul Arena, but the Imperial Enclosure. The ranking round is the best stage for you to display your individual strength. When the time comes, the Empire will provide the next soul ring to the 3 students with the most victories. You can request it yourself. As long as it's under 30,000 years, the Empire will unconditionally hunt it. Shui Ye's promise of rewards stimulated everyone, especially the soul ring reward. It was even more tempting than a noble title. After all, this group of students was about to break through to Soul King. If they could obtain this reward, it meant that their 5th soul ring would be extremely powerful. Sokka hurriedly said, "The Martial Soul Temple will also open its doors to all of you. You can choose to join the Martial Soul Temple at any time. The top 15 students with the most victories in this ranking round. As long as you join the Martial Soul Temple, I will personally lead you to hunt soul beasts. I can guarantee that you'll be suitable for 20,000 years." Originally, there wasn't such a reward. After all, joining the Martial Soul Temple was already a great honor. However, the Snow Knight Emperor had already offered so many benefits. If Sokka's didn't offer better rewards, how could he rope them in? The 15 slots made everyone's eyes light up. The Snow Knight Emperor's offer of 3 slots made everyone excited at first. However, given the strength of the students present, these 3 slots would definitely be taken by the Oakland Academy or the Shrek Academy. However, Sokka's offer of 15 slots meant that they also had a chance. The 7 members of the Avengers, the Soul King from the Shrek Academy, and the 2 Soul Masters with 10,000-year soul rings. Even if the top 10 spots were divided among them, there would still be 5 slots left. The others still had a chance. It was also because of this that Sokka had decided to offer 15 slots. He knew the ins and outs of these people, which was why he boasted that the Avengers and the Shrek Academy wouldn't join. His target had always been the geniuses of the other academies. The Snow Knight Emperor didn't get angry when he saw the tempted gazes in everyone's eyes. Instead, he smiled. The qualifiers will be held in a month. I hope that you'll be able to make breakthroughs in this month. All right, I won't say anything else. You're all smart kids. I believe that you'll make the smartest choice. His words were very meaningful. It could be said that he was forcing the other academies to pick a side. Of course, he was forcing Songhui, Thunder, and the Divine Wind Academy. He was only trying to rope in the Avengers and the Shrek's 7 monsters. The 3 slots he mentioned were actually prepared for these 2 academies. After he finished speaking, the Snow Knight Emperor swept his gaze across everyone. After that, he turned around and left under the escort of a group of high-ranking officials. After the awards ceremony, the MC announced the end of the qualifiers. At the same time, he arranged various curtain calls. In a large plaza, the other academies that didn't get a spot in the finals left one after another. On the podium, the Avengers were the first to leave. The other 4 academies fell into deep thought after hearing the Snow Knight Emperor's words. Chapter 345. After the competition ended, Tang San and the others returned to the Shrek Academy. Lin Feng had also returned today. He didn't plan to go to the setting sun forest. He was a little tired from hastening the ripening every day, so he rested for a few days. Everyone was very excited at this moment. After all, they had obtained the qualifications for the finals. Although it was expected, they were still very happy to have obtained it. As for the ranking competition, to be honest, it was actually useless. It was just a platform for them to display their abilities and wouldn't be eliminated at all. If it wasn't for the Academy's reputation, Tang San would have just admitted defeat the entire time. That would be so convenient. They wouldn't even have to fight and could even cultivate for a while. At most, they would be last in the ranking competition. Anyway, it wouldn't affect the finals at all. As for Lin Feng, he was actually waiting for this ranking competition. The ranking competition focused on individual battles. This way, he could fully understand the characteristics of his opponent's martial soul. Moreover, the 15 academies of the Heaven Do Empire came from all over the world and had a variety of martial souls. If Lin Feng wanted to understand special martial souls, participating in this competition was a good choice. If he encountered some martial souls that he had seen before, he would easily end the battle. If he encountered martial souls that interested Lin Feng, he would drag out the battle a little longer and study them properly. Fengge, you're finally back. We got 2nd place in the qualifiers, Xiao Wu said with a smile after seeing Lin Feng. After saying that, she added, if we didn't admit defeat, the Avengers might not have been able to beat us. In my opinion, even if the entire Avengers team attacked together, they wouldn't be able to beat you, Xiao Wu. Lin Feng chuckled. Xiao Wu's competitive spirit was really strong. She was also very combative. Of course, as long as Fengge and I use our martial soul fusion skill together, we will definitely beat them until they piss their pants. Xiao Wu snorted. Everyone realized that unleashing a martial soul fusion skill with Lin Feng was the strongest. The strength and experience were both extremely good. Xiao was currently a soul ancestor. If she and Lin Feng used their martial soul fusion skill together, their strength would be comparable to that of a soul sage. Most importantly, Lin Feng's vitality was too terrifying. It could allow Xiao Wu to maintain her peak condition. Even if she was injured, she could quickly recover. In this case, no matter how strong the Avengers were, they were no match for Xiao Wu. In fact, this was the result of Lin Feng suppressing it. Xiao Wu's body could only withstand so much. If it had been any stronger, she would have been injured. If Fengge wants to fight, he'll have to fight with me. My fusion skill with Fengge is the strongest, Ning Rongrong hurriedly said. There is only one word that could describe the feeling of a support-type soul master in battle. Awesome. That feeling was unforgettable for a long time. Ning Rongrong missed it very much. Fengge and I's fusion skill is the strongest, the Rainbow Firebird. It can burn 7 people off the stage just by opening its mouth. Ma Hongjun said excitedly. I didn't participate. Don't think about it. Lin Feng mercilessly interrupted. Everyone, then, Lin Feng smiled and said, your performance in the competition was not bad. At least you guys showed your elegance. 2nd place is also expected. This Avengers is very strong. Fengge, did you see the match where the Avengers defeated the Weaver team? Tang San suddenly asked. I saw it. The combination skill used by those two was very strong. If they used fusion skills, they would definitely be stronger. They wouldn't be weaker than you guys. You guys have to be careful when you meet them in the future. Lin Feng said calmly. For the ranking competition, we've decided to do the same as the qualifiers. If we meet the Avengers, we'll directly admit defeat. As for the other teams, they shouldn't be able to beat us. Tang Sen nodded. In the Heaven Do Empire division, the strongest division was the Heaven Do division. The teams from the other divisions wouldn't be that strong even if they advanced. Tang San and the others knew that in the individual battles, other than the Avengers, the others weren't worth mentioning. And they didn't need to expose too much in the individual battles, so admitting defeat was the best choice. Good choice. Admitting defeat is the right choice. Lin Feng nodded in agreement. Tang San continued. In the finals, we have to be careful of 3 teams. Oakland Academy, Songhua Academy, and the last team from the Martial Spirit Palace. Listening to Tang San's analysis, the Grandmaster could only nod at the side. To be honest, the Grandmaster found that ever since he came to Heaven Do City, he hadn't helped Tang San and the others much. Most of it was Lin Feng's teachings and Tang San and the others' own understanding. Tang San and the others' teacher should be Lin Feng. If it was a Grandmaster, Tang San would be of help. However, compared to Lin Feng's help, Tang San's help was too little. Now that Tang San and the others felt that they could finish their apprenticeship, he had nothing to teach them. There's no need to talk about the Oakland Academy. The Avengers have always been our #1 enemy, the biggest obstacle on the road to the championship. The Songhua Academy's 7-man combination skill is very strong. We have to be careful. As for the last team from the Martial Spirit Palace, we don't have much information yet, but the opponent is definitely very strong. We have to be careful. Tang San briefly explained the 3 teams. Everyone nodded in agreement with Tang San's words. At this time, Lin Feng said, "You don't have to worry about that now. We've already analyzed what we need to analyze. Take advantage of this time to cultivate and try to break through one more soul power before the competition. That way, you'll have a better chance of winning the finals." The Grandmaster stood up and said, "Xiao Feng is right. You've already trained enough. The only thing that can make you stronger is the cultivation of your soul power." The qualifiers lasted for a total of 28 days, including the opening ceremony. During these days, Tang San and the others had been cultivating, and their soul power had increased by a lot. Among them, Ning Rongrong, Xiao Wu, and Oscar had all increased by 1 rank. There was still a month before the qualifiers. If the other 4 worked hard, they might be able to increase by 1 rank. When one was a soul ancestor, the increase in soul power by 1 rank wasn't that significant, but it was still about 5%, which was considered not bad. As for Daimu Bai, as a soul king, the increase was a little more, perhaps about 10%. However, comparatively speaking, a soul king's cultivation was slower. In a world of soul masters, Soul King was actually a watershed. After becoming a soul king, a soul master's cultivation speed would be much slower than before. After Daimu Bai obtained his soul ring, he directly reached rank 52 and was only halfway to breaking through rank 53. Now that a month and a half had passed, he still hadn't broken through. It would probably take another month, 2.5 months to increase by 1 rank, and this was under the effect of the immortal medicine. It could be seen how slow a Soul King's cultivation speed was. Chapter 346. If news of a Soul King advancing 1 level in 2.5 months were to spread, it would attract the envy of countless people. For ordinary people, it was already very impressive for a Soul King to advance 1 level in a year. Only those geniuses could advance 1 level in half a year. Furthermore, the most important thing for a soul master's cultivation was the bottleneck. Some people did not have enough potential and might be stuck at 1 level for several years. This was normal. As for Tang San and the others, because of the immortal medicine, they did not have any bottlenecks before they became soul sages. As long as they had enough soul power, they could advance directly. As for Lin Feng, bottleneck? What bottleneck? The word bottleneck was too unfamiliar to Lin Feng. Breakthrough? Wasn't it just a matter of Dian Dian? It was simply too easy. Today, we have qualified for the finals. Everyone, let's celebrate first. Tomorrow, we will start cultivating hard, the master said with a smile. Flanders was very happy today. He spent a lot of money and treated them to a good meal. Although the place to eat was in the Shrek Academy's cafeteria, the food was not ordinary. They used very high-end ingredients, and a meal cost thousands of gold coins. Although Flanders was rich now, his reputation as a miser had not been removed. 1,000 gold coins was still very painful for him. Yeah, let's not go home until we're drunk today. Ma Hongjun cheered. The others were also happy. There was nothing wrong with celebrating for the finals. For a time, everyone gathered in the Shrek Academy's cafeteria to celebrate. After an hour, many people were drunk. Even Tang San was a little drunk. The master fell asleep directly. Those who were still awake were Flanders, Lu Erlong, Zhao Wuji, and Lin Feng. They're all drunk. They'll be fine after a sleep. Lin Feng, Zhao Wuji, and Lu Erlong carried Tang San and the others back to the middle of the forest. As for Tai Long and the other substitutes, they were brought to their dormitory by Flanders. Fengge, I have something to tell you. After putting down Xiao Wu and the others, Tang San came to Lin Feng's side. After sobering up for a period of time, Tang San had specially used his soul power to stimulate it. At this time, he was no longer drunk. At this time, Zhao Wuji and Lu Erlong had already left. In the middle of the forest, only Lin Feng and Tang San were still awake. What's the matter? Why are you being so mysterious? Looking at Tang San's slightly cautious manner, Lin Feng felt a little curious. Fengge, what do you think of the Martial Spirit Palace? Tang San asked. What else could it be? It's a soul master organization, and it's pretty strong. It's friendly to novice soul masters, and it has a lot of power. It has the ambition to unify the two empires. Lin Feng said casually. Lin Feng actually had a lot of evaluation of the Martial Spirit Palace in his heart. When he first started reading novels, he was still young and only had two sides in his heart. Those who did bad things were called bad people, and those who did good things were called good people. At that time, he thought that the Martial Spirit Palace was bad, and Tang San and the others were good people. Later, he transmigrated. At that time, he also thought that the Martial Spirit Palace was not a good thing. After all, the bad impression he had was there, so he subconsciously thought so. But now, he understood more and saw more. Lin Feng found that the Martial Spirit Palace was actually not bad. At least for novice soul masters, it gave a lot of help. This organization was generally beneficial to the world. Bibi Dong's idea of unifying the continent and eliminating several major forces was actually not wrong. As a native of Douluo's world, unifying the continent and killing the rebels were actually completely normal ideas. In this era, the rulers all had such ideas. The establishment of the Heaven Do Empire and the Heaven Luo Empire must have been full of blood. You think that the Martial Spirit Palace is bad, but in the end, it's just a different standpoint. The so-called good and bad don't exist at all. If it weren't for the appearance of Tang San, maybe a few years later, the Martial Spirit Empire would have led the people of Douluo's continent to a new height. These were all uncertain. After all, compared to the two empires, Bibi Dong had strength and means. This kind of person unified the continent, not to mention other things, but the power would definitely be highly concentrated. In this case, the strength of a country would really be displayed, and it would not be like now with class opposition and stagnant progress. Why do you ask this? Lin Feng raised his eyebrows. I just want to see Feng Ji's opinion. Tang San continued to ask, what do you think of the Heaven Do Empire? Heaven Do Empire? Lin Feng said lightly, it has already decayed and won't live for long. To be honest, according to Lin Feng's observations over the years, if there were no other changes, even if the Martial Spirit Palace did not do anything and allowed the Heaven Do Empire to develop on its own, it would definitely collapse within 100 years. The reason for a powerful country's destruction was not from the outside, but from internal corrosion. The class opposition in the Heaven Do Empire was too serious. No matter where you were, as long as you were a soul master or a noble, ordinary people would be inferior in front of you. The so-called laws of the empire actually had too few restrictions on the nobles and soul masters. Every year, countless ordinary people were killed because they offended soul masters or nobles. Most importantly, the law would not punish these people at all. This kind of thing might not be a big deal in the short term, and it would have the effect of stabilizing the situation. But after a long time, what if the next generation of the people killed was a soul master? These soul masters would naturally hate the empire, and perhaps the empire could change the minds of some of them, such as giving them nobility or something. But there would always be people who would continue to hate the Heaven-Do Empire. One person, 100 people, 1,000 people, 10,000 people. As more and more people like this appeared, there would be a day when these people would grow up and become strong enough. When the time was right, they would rise up and overthrow the empire's rule. I think the empire is quite prosperous. How is it rotten? Tang Xin was stunned. He did not expect Lin Feng to give such an answer. Weren't you working in Heaven-Do City before? Did you meet any soul masters or nobles? Lin Feng asked. Yes, I've found more than 10 jobs, and I've met them in every one of them. Tang Xin immediately answered. At the same time, he recalled his experiences when he was working. Do you think there's any difference between soul masters, nobles, and ordinary people? Lin Feng looked at Tang San with a glint in his eyes. Tang San was not stupid. When Lin Feng asked this question, he had a guess in his heart. The status of ordinary people was too low. No matter what job it was, when soul masters and nobles came, ordinary people were very inferior. This was a kind of, what was the word Feng Gu said before? Class opposition. That's right, this was called class opposition. In the past, Lin Feng had said this to him and Xiao Wu. Chapter 347. In the past, Tang San didn't have a deep impression of this phrase. Even if Lin Feng hadn't asked him this question, Tang San wouldn't have thought too much about it. After all, when they went to work with the mentality of experiencing life. At the bottom of their hearts, they were still soul masters and didn't completely think of themselves as workers. Although they still had some experience and could feel some emotions, compared to a real ordinary person, they still lacked a lot of comprehension. Tang Xin had a very deep impression of this scene. That day, he was working as a waiter in a restaurant. The restaurant wasn't small, and there were many waiters. Because there were too many customers, it took a while for the dishes to be served. When a waiter was serving the dishes, the customer was a soul ancestor with a rather bad temper. At that time, the customer directly injured that person with a palm strike. Tang Xin was very close at that time. After seeing the situation, he was very angry and went to help the waiter. However, that soul ancestor unexpectedly struck him with a palm strike again. Furthermore, he was still laughing as if injuring someone would make him happy. One had to know that soul masters were strictly prohibited from fighting in Heaven-Do City. Furthermore, soul masters who attacked ordinary people were severely punished. However, no one present at that time dared to say anything. The other soul masters and nobles acted as if they didn't see anything. At that time, he took that person away from the place and then questioned that person why he attacked ordinary people. It was against the law. However, it was useless. That soul ancestor completely ignored him and even continued to attack him. No one present tried to stop him. In the end, Tang San personally taught that guy a lesson. Only then did this matter come to an end. At that time, Tang San only thought of it as a small episode. After returning, Tang San even told the story to Xiao Wu and the others. When he told them that he had beaten up that soul ancestor, everyone was still laughing heartily. But now that he thought about it carefully, if he was that waiter who was beaten up at that time, if no one helped him, how much despair would he feel? Perhaps he wouldn't be killed in the city, but it was very normal for him to be beaten until he was crippled. After that, he was a small commoner, while the other side was a soul ancestor who seemed to be a baron. The two of them had completely different statuses. He couldn't do anything and could only obediently accept his fate. Perhaps he was even praying in his heart that he wouldn't meet that soul ancestor again. Thinking about it this way, how sorrowful. The gap between ordinary people and soul masters and nobles is too big, Tang Sen said softly. It would have been better if this topic had not been brought up. Now that it was brought up, Tang Sen actually felt indifferent towards ordinary people. It wasn't that he looked down on them, but he would subconsciously ignore them. The two were completely different. Perhaps they were treated equally on the surface, but deep down, Tang Sen still had a special sense of superiority over ordinary people. Although it wasn't strong, and it hadn't been shown from beginning to end, it did exist. That's right, a class conflict has arisen. If the Heaven-Do Empire doesn't make any changes, this conflict will only intensify. One day, the empire will be finished by itself. Lin Feng said indifferently. If these words were spoken outside, it would be considered treacherous. Moreover, it would be viewed as an enemy by everyone. No one would choose to believe it because they were in the situation and could not see the root of the problem. However, when Tang San heard this, he instantly understood. Lin Feng was right. If the empire didn't make any changes, it would only be a matter of time before it self-destructed. Feng Gu, the three upper sects belong to the Heaven-Do Empire. My father is also from the Clear Sky sect. Should I return to this sect? Tang Sen was slightly confused. Do you want to return? I don't know. Tang Sen shook his head. I've asked around. My father should have a grudge against the Martial Spirit Hall. However, I feel that the Martial Spirit Hall is a good power. If I return to the Clear Sky sect, I will definitely oppose the Martial Spirit Hall and be on good terms with the Heaven-Do Empire. However, I feel that Shui Yi is not good either. Back then, he directly sent 10,000 Soul Masters to surround the Shrek Academy. Although he's on good terms with us now, I feel that he's very hypocritical. Today, Shui even revealed the conflict between the Empire and the Martial Spirit Hall in front of us. I feel that he's using us as a tool. Using us as a tool? Haha, you've learned a lot from me. Lin Feng chuckled. He didn't care much about the words he used usually, but he was able to use many modern words. Furthermore, Tang San and the others could understand the meaning behind his words. Now, they were able to use them flexibly. Hearing this, Tang San scratched his head. After that, he said, Feng Gu, the Crown Prince is good to us. However, Shui Yi is too hypocritical. I don't like him. Right now, I'm thinking, if the Martial Spirit Hall and the Heaven-Do Empire fight in the future, which side should I side with? Or should I not help either side? In that moment, Tang San revealed all the contradictions and doubts in his heart. As far as Tang San knew, if the two forces were to go to war, it would happen in 20 or 30 years at the earliest. By then, Tang San would have the strength of a titled law. Because of this, Tang San asked this question. Otherwise, if he wasn't strong enough, he wouldn't be able to ask anything. Is it uncomfortable to make a choice? Lin Feng didn't answer. Instead, he suddenly asked a question of his own. Tang San was stunned, but soon he replied, It's uncomfortable. Then it's settled. Since it's uncomfortable to make a choice, then don't choose, Lin Feng said casually. Don't choose. Tang San scratched his head. Does Feng Gu mean that I shouldn't help either side? No matter what, this choice was the worst choice. It was an option to escape from everything. Tang San was just saying it casually. Unless the situation was very annoying, he wouldn't make this choice in the future. Stupid. Lin Feng gave Tang San a knock on the head. Don't you have the Tang sect? What I mean is that you should unify the continent yourself. Huh. Tang San was stunned. He never thought that Lin Feng would say this. From the beginning to the end, no matter when or where, Tang San had never thought of this idea. After all, this was too rebellious. Although Tang San was also a transmigrator, the world he transmigrated to was an ancient world. He didn't have a broad mind like Lin Feng. Feng Gu, this is too, Tang San said hesitantly. However, before he could finish, Lin Feng interrupted him. To what? If you don't like either side, then unify the continent yourself. When the time comes, you can make the continent what you like. How great would that be? When the time comes, you can use whatever policy you think is good. If you think that soul masters and ordinary people should be equal, then they should be equal. All problems will be solved, won't they? Hearing this, Tang San swallowed his saliva. For a moment, he didn't know how to respond. Chapter 348. The three of them were very smart, but in the end, they had too little experience, and their thinking was also limited by the era. In their previous life, they had lived in a sect with strict rules for so many years, and now they were in a feudal society. Even though he had been taught by Lin Feng to think beyond this era, he was still affected sometimes. Especially now that Lin Feng had said that he wanted him to overthrow all the rulers and build a new society himself. This kind of thinking was simply too crazy. It was so crazy that he didn't agree with it, because in his heart, anyone who tried to overthrow an orthodox dynasty would be committing treason. Feng Ge, I've thought about secretly killing Shui Yi, but I've never thought about unifying the continent. Tang San sighed. Killing Shui Yi could be said to be a personal vendetta, because after killing him, Shui Qinghe could still take over the throne, and the Heavendo Empire would still be the Heavendo Empire. But if he wanted to overthrow the rule of the empire, it would be called rebellion. You want to kill Shui Yi, and this is a good thing for the Martial Spirit Hall, but your father and the Martial Spirit Hall have a great feud. When the time comes, you'll be in a difficult position. Won't that be troublesome? Lin Feng said earnestly. That's why I said it's best to subdue both sides and unify the continent yourself. That's the best way. When the time comes, no one will dare to say anything about you, and no one will dare to provoke you. Everyone who disagrees will be suppressed by you. Wasn't your father kicked out of the Clear Sky sect? When you unify the continent, won't your father be able to go back with just a word? Tang Xin did not feel anything when he heard the first part of Lin Feng's words. However, Lin Feng's last sentence made his heart skip a beat. Master Tang had been kicked out of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon clan, and he wanted to go back his whole life. What about his father? He probably wanted to go back too. If he could let his father go back, he would definitely be very happy. Of course, right now, Tang San was only thinking about it. Even if his Tang sect could develop, it would take a long time. Right now, the most important thing was to increase his own strength. Feng Ge, these are too far away. At least wait until the competition is over. Tang San scratched his head and said, You finally realized it. Lin Feng smiled and nodded. What did he comprehend? Tang San was taken aback, but he quickly reacted. Feng Ge said so much and beat around the bush. In the end, he made him understand a principle. He should not worry about gains and losses here. He should grasp the present and not worry about those uncertain things in the future. Feng Ge was really too good to him. He used some stories to make him deeply understand this truth. Feng Ge, thank you so much. Tang San's face was full of excitement. Lin Feng smiled, but didn't say anything, looking like an expert. Actually, in his heart, Lin Feng had his own thoughts. He wanted to let Tang San directly unify the entire continent. There wouldn't be so many troublesome matters. Originally, he had the idea of unifying the continent, but after thinking about it, that would be too tiring. Why should he tire himself out? It was quite good to let Xiao San unify the continent while he secretly pushed for it. After all, there were still gods paying attention to Douluo's world. If his performance was too eye-catching, what if the gods from the upper realm made a move? He wasn't ready yet. At least, he had to wait until he had the strength to fight against the gods. However, as Tang San said, there was no rush now. He would think about it in the future. At this moment, Tang San asked again, Feng Ge, do you think I should use the Clear Sky Hammer? In the previous battle, I actually discovered the problem with my blue silvergrass. The strength of my martial soul is a bit weak. When Tang San said that his blue silvergrass was weak, he meant that his blue silvergrass had been strengthened so much, but it was only equivalent to other people's high-grade martial souls. His third soul ring was more special. 2 soul rings fused together and had a total of more than 4,000 years. His fourth soul ring was directly over 10,000 years. If this kind of soul ring was used on other martial souls, they would have soared long ago. However, his blue silvergrass was only equivalent to a top-grade martial soul of the same level. It was too weak. One had to know that Tang San's strongest fighting methods were his hidden weapons and the 8-spider spear. His martial soul could only be ranked last. Although it was still very strong, and even a Soul King would find it difficult to break free from his control, it was really too weak. If he used the clear sky hammer to enhance these soul rings, Tang San felt that he could directly fight a soul emperor alone. Blue silver grass is weak, but I feel that your martial soul isn't as simple as blue silver grass. Lin Feng laughed. Didn't Master say that you awakened your blue silver grass with innate full soul power? Then you must have an even stronger twin martial soul. This theory is correct because it's the truth. However, it's also wrong because under normal circumstances, the strength of twin martial souls is about the same. Your blue-silver grass might not be as simple as just blue-silver grass. Otherwise, it wouldn't have appeared in your hands together with the clear sky hammer. I guess that your martial soul might be the blue-silver emperor, which you inherited from your mother. My mother. Tang San's breathing suddenly became hurried. Mother. This was an extremely unfamiliar title to Tang San. He longed to have it, but he had never touched it before. Now that it came from Lin Feng's mouth, Tang San was extremely excited. Feng Ge, do you know who my mother is? I don't know, but her martial soul should be the blue-silver emperor. Otherwise, she wouldn't have given you the blue-silver grass. Lin Feng shook his head. Of course, he knew who Tang San's mother was. He also knew everything that had happened, but now wasn't a good time to tell Tang San. Otherwise, Tang San would definitely pester him to ask about his mother. At that time, it wouldn't be good if there were any unforeseen circumstances. Wait until the competition is over. Blue-Silver Emperor? Thinking about the Blue-Silver Emperor and his parents, Tang San suddenly cried. Lin Feng, it was quite sudden. However, Lin Feng could also understand Tang San's current feelings. Tang San was a pure and good child who valued family. He hadn't seen his father for many years, and he hadn't seen his mother since he was young. Now that he knew some things about his mother, it was inevitable that he would cry out of excitement. In the original work, he had cried a few times. Your mother just went missing. Who knows? She might appear in the future. Lin Feng said with a smile as he patted Tang San's head. Really? Tang San suddenly raised his head. There were still traces of tears on his face. Tang San's heart was actually very strong. It was impossible for him to cry in front of outsiders. It was only because Lin Feng was like a real brother to Tang San that he let go of the burden in his heart and cried in front of him. In his heart, his mother hadn't appeared for so many years, and Tang Hao had never mentioned it. There was a high probability that she was already dead. Now that Lin Feng said that she might still be alive, a glimmer of hope suddenly rose in his heart. After all, this was what Feng Ge said. He never lied. Chapter 349. Of course it's true. Do you think I would lie to you? Lin Feng nodded matter-of-factly and said, and there are gods in this world. Even if people die, they can actually be resurrected. As long as you work hard to become stronger, everything is possible. Become a god, Tang San murmured. All the soul masters on the continent were pursuing one direction, and that was to become a god. Becoming a god could give one eternal life and transcend this world. These were all things that Tang San had heard. The difficulty of this was very high, so high that it was hard to imagine. But Tang San's words gave him a push. As long as he worked hard to become stronger, everything was possible. Yes, if he was strong enough now, all the troubles would not have appeared, and his parents would not have left him. For a time, Tang San's desire to become strong was extremely strong. Suddenly, Tang San thought of something and looked at Lin Feng with a complicated gaze. The smile on Feng Ge's face was too infectious. But what about him? His situation was even worse than his. His parents were gone, but he still had a father. However, Feng Ge was not affected by these things from beginning to end. He had always been optimistic and had taught them a lot of knowledge. At this time, after hearing Lin Feng's words, Tang San suddenly came to a realization. The reason why Feng Ge worked so hard to cultivate and become stronger turned out that his ultimate goal was to become a god and then resurrect his parents. Feng Ge had already worked so hard, so what reason did Tang San have to waste time here? He also had to work hard to cultivate, calm his heart, and not be affected by other things. He had to be undistracted. Thinking of this, Tang San was suddenly full of fighting spirit. He looked at Lin Feng, clenched his fist, and said, "Feng, don't worry. I will work hard to cultivate and strive to become a god as soon as possible." After saying that, Tang San directly turned around and went into the meditation room to begin today's cultivation. Tang San realized that he already understood Feng Gu and knew how much pressure he was under. On the other hand, Lin Feng scratched his head and muttered, "Xiao San, this guy? Is he stupid? You're already working hard on your cultivation. Aren't you going to rest today?" He could not understand why Tang San was suddenly so full of fighting spirit. He clearly did not say anything. There was also the matter of his own martial soul. Lin Feng hadn't even finished talking about it, and he had already run away. How reckless! However, it didn't matter if he didn't say these things. After all, he would find out about it himself in the future. Speaking of which, Tang San and the other's strength had soared during the few years they were taking the divine test on the Sea God's Island. In other times, he hadn't improved that quickly, but on the Sea God's Island, he had reached the level of Soul Douluo in just a few years. That was ridiculous. However, the Sea God's Island was really a good place. It could be said to be the cradle of genius soul masters. As long as you were a genius enough, you could become stronger after passing the test. If you were a weakling, you might even die halfway. When the time came, Lin Feng would also go with Tang San and the others. There was no other reason than to get a God-bestowed soul ring. Didn't that thing have an unlimited number of years? Lin Feng wanted to see if he could directly get the entire million-year soul ring. Why not go alone? The reason was very simple. Lin Feng was afraid of unforeseen events. Although the protagonist's luck was ethereal, it did exist. Under the influence of luck, Tang San's third soul ring originally did not have an external soul bone. In the end, he had a soul ring mutation fusion and forcibly got the 8 spider spear out. Since then, Lin Feng was basically 100% sure that there must be a protagonist's aura. Following someone like Tang San, who had great luck, would be lucky. If he went to the Sea God's Island alone, he might even be chased out. That Poseidon was a peak rank 99 Douluo, and she could borrow the power of the Sea God. On the Sea God's Island, Lin Feng was not her opponent at all. For safety's sake, it was better to wait. There was a month's rest before the qualifiers, and at the same time, it gave the teams from the other regions time to rush over. This month passed very quickly. Tang San and the others were all working hard to cultivate, and their soul power had increased. Now, Tang San was at rank 49, and he estimated that with this cultivation speed, he should be able to break through to Soul King before the finals. This way, their Shrek Academy would have 2 Soul Kings. Xiao Wu was still at rank 47, but she would be able to reach rank 48 before the finals. Dai Mubai had finally broken through to rank 53, and he was even stronger. Oscar was at rank 46, Ning Rongrong was at rank 43, and Ma Hongjun and Zhu Zhuqing were at rank 44. During this period, the 7 of them had all increased by 1 rank, and their overall strength had increased by about 8%. Although it was not much, it was still very strong. When Tang San broke through to Soul King, they would be able to improve by another level. Today was the first day of the qualifiers. The qualifiers were held in the Royal Knight Regiment's large enclosure, or it was also called the large drill ground or the large sports field. In any case, this place was a large plaza. There were a total of 15 teams participating in the qualifiers, and the format was the same as the qualifiers. Every team would face off against the other 14 teams, which meant that the qualifiers would last for 14 days. However, because of the number of teams, there would be a bye every day, and there would only be 7 matches in a round. All the matches were held in this large plaza. This place had already been remodeled, and there was an area with a diameter of 100 meters in the center that was separated out. Such a large venue was for people to properly display their individual strength. There were no cheering spectators here, only the upper echelons of the various large forces. But because of this, some people were more cautious about this competition, so that they could be invited by these forces after the competition. On the north side of the large plaza, there was a temporary VIP platform, and the upper echelons were sitting there. On the periphery of the plaza, a total of 10,000 royal knights surrounded the entire plaza, forming a human wall. It looked very spectacular. At this moment, all 15 teams were in the plaza, and those who knew each other were chatting together. It was very lively. People from Leitang Academy and Godwind Academy ran over to greet Shrek Academy, but because Songhui Academy had a grudge with Shrek Academy in the past, they did not come over. He was bold and instead went to Oakland Academy, wanting to get close to them. Not only him, but many other academies also came over to get close to Fenghui. They had all heard that Oakland Academy, which had advanced with all their victories, was a popular team to win the championship. They heard that the team was called the Avengers Alliance, and they had the title Douluo behind them. If they could get close to such a strong team, it would be of great benefit to their reputation when they had an exchange in the future. Because of this, many academies were more enthusiastic. Chapter 350. Fenghui was also full of smiles. At the same time, he was incomparably glad that he had agreed to Dr. Strange's request. Otherwise, the academy wouldn't be so glorious today. In this square, almost everyone was paying attention to their team. However, there was one thing that wasn't good. The 7 members of the Avengers were standing far away with an unapproachable look, causing many people to frown. Lin Feng could still hear some students muttering, "What are you pretending for? Isn't it just an all-win? How arrogant," and so on. Lin Feng had memorized the faces of these people. If he met them in the future, he would definitely beat them up. As for those who said he was handsome, Lin Feng also memorized them. When the time came, he would go easy on them. Today, Oakland Academy was fighting against Barker Academy. The one who said he was pretending seemed to be the captain of that academy. It just so happened that today's 1 versus 7 would be fought in this academy. Generally speaking, 1 versus 7 wouldn't happen in the ranking competition. On one hand, it was too difficult. Even if a Soul King met a Soul Master with an elemental counter, a Soul Ancestor might be able to win. Even if a Soul King didn't have an elemental counter, a Soul Ancestor wouldn't be able to insta-kill a Soul King. A Soul Master who could beat 7 people at once was extremely powerful, and such Soul Masters were very rare. On the other hand, it was a matter of face between the academies. If you beat someone 1 versus 7, it meant that you didn't give that academy any face. In order to not offend others, no matter how strong you were, you wouldn't beat someone 1 versus 7. This was also a kind of worldly wisdom. However, how could Lin Feng care about this? Not only did he want to beat 7 people at once, he wanted to beat 7 people at once. He wanted to be arrogant and insolent. Of course, he wouldn't cripple them in one move and end the battle in 1 or 2 minutes. That would be too fierce and would scare the other academies. That wouldn't be good. Lin Feng knew how to pretend. At least, he would extend the time a little each time to give the other academies a bit of hope. Otherwise, if they all admitted defeat, it would be meaningless. Feng Gu, who do you think will go first? Ma Hongjun came over with 6 other people behind him. The few of them were full of vigor. They all wanted to be the first to go up and fight 1 against 7. Just like that, they began to compete and wanted to make their debut. In the end, they couldn't win, so they needed Lin Feng to pick the soldiers. Mubai should go up. You're already a Soul King, so it's good for you to be the first to show off the academy's might. Lin Feng said casually. Today was the first day of the competition. Lin Feng still gave face and came with Tang San and the others. In the future, Lin Feng would control his clones to fight from afar. After the fight, he would run away. How exciting. Look, I knew it was me. Dai Mubai's face was full of joy. Watch carefully later. I'll give you a beautiful 1 versus 7. Feng Ge, let me go. I also want to go 1 against 7. Xiao Wu grabbed Lin Feng's hand and swung it coquettishly. Lin Feng hurriedly let go. Go to the side. This girl was so violent. Now that she was suddenly acting coquettishly, Lin Feng's heart was full of dissonance. Stinky Feng Ge. Xiao Wu made a face. What's the hurry? You guys change your starting lineup every day. Everyone has a chance to go 1 against 7. I'm just afraid that you guys won't be able to beat 7 people at once. That would be embarrassing. Lin Feng laughed. How is that possible? I saw that the other regions are weaker than us by quite a bit. Some of the teams don't even have a soul ancestor, and even if they do, they only have one soul ancestor. As long as I don't meet a soul cultivator who specializes in restraining me, I'll be able to easily defeat all 7 of them. In fact, Xiao Wu had the teleportation soul skill and the invincible golden body. She was practically invincible in a one-on-one fight. Basically, there was no situation where she was restrained. Moreover, she had previously created many soul skills herself. Her soft techniques had also become more and more powerful. Weaker soul kings couldn't beat her. Yes, they're all very weak. Even the soul ancestors aren't very high. They're only at rank 41. Ma Hongjun added. In the original work, everyone's soul powers were only slightly over rank 40. Like these people, they were around rank 41. The strongest one was only rank 42. But now, among the 7 of them, the weakest attack-type soul master was rank 44. Furthermore, they had soul bones, soul power control, and many self-created soul skills. Under such circumstances, their strength was many times stronger than in the original work. Even the substitute soul masters were a little stupefied when they heard Tang San and the others talking about going 1 against 7, and even competing to go 1 against 7. They could only sigh. They didn't understand the world of the strong. Also, weren't soul ancestors geniuses? Why did they sound like cabbages to this group of people? In any case, at this moment, these substitutes were silently following behind like a few small followers. Do your best. The competition is about to start. Lin Feng nodded and didn't say anything else. At this moment, Shui Yi slowly stood up from his seat. He grabbed the loudspeaker and said, "Today is the first day of the qualifiers. I hope that in the next 14 days, all the students will be able to fully display their strength and display the elegance of a soul master. I hereby announce that the competition has officially begun." Following Shui Ye's words, the 10,000 Knight Legion outside let out a heart-shaking roar. Long live! Long live! Long live! This loud roar made everyone's blood boil. They couldn't wait to start the battle immediately. Under the host arrangement, the first round of the competition quickly began. It was the Thunder Academy against the Beast Academy. Tang San and the others were surprised to discover that Meng Yiran, Serpent's granddaughter, was also in the Beast Academy. The two were on completely different levels. The Thunder Academy easily defeated the Beast Academy. The second round was the Oakland Academy against the Barak Academy. As for the Shrek Academy, they were right behind. Their opponent was the Fabia Academy, an unknown team. Dai Mubai wouldn't have any difficulty defeating 7 of them by himself. Many of these teams haven't seen the power of the Avengers Alliance. They might be shocked when the time comes, Oscar said with a smile. Smiles appeared on everyone's faces. When the time came, the others would definitely be shocked. The Thunder Academy was very strong, right? However, they had to send 4 people to defeat the 7 from the Beast Academy. After all, taking turns to fight was too taxing on soul power. For the sake of the competition, the participants couldn't be injured, and they couldn't risk their lives or exhaust their soul power. Under such circumstances, even a soul ancestor would find it difficult to fight 3 soul elders. Feng Ge, who do you think the Avengers Alliance will send out this time? Ning Rongrong asked. Before Lin Feng could say anything, Ma Hongjun said they'll definitely want to show off in the first round. If it's not the God of Thunder, then it's the Hulk. I think it'll be the 50-50 captain. As the captain, he should be the first to fight. Tang Sen said. I think it'll be... Several people made their guesses. Basically, the one with the highest guesses was the God of Thunder. After all, he was the strongest. The chances of him being sent out in the first round were very high. Not only did Tang San and the others think so, but most of the others also thought so. Lin Feng smiled. I think it'll be Black Panther, Chara. Black Panther? That can't be. Although he's a very strong agility-type soul master, his attack style is too boring. He was originally second to last in terms of fame, but after the 50-50 captain came out, he directly became last. The first round shouldn't be. However, before Ma Hongjun could finish speaking, Black Panther stood up from the Avengers Alliance and walked towards the stage. Everyone, looking at everyone's dumbfounded expressions, Lin Feng's lips curled up slightly. Lin Feng, will send out whoever I want. I'm willful. Chapter 351. It's really Black Panther. Brother Feng, your guess is too accurate. Everyone was in disbelief at this time. This Avengers alliance was too strange. Usually, the first person sent out by other teams would be the strongest person in the team. That way, they would be able to show off their strength. But Black Panther, who wasn't very strong in the team, was really unexpected. Let's watch the competition. Observe how they fight so that we can deal with them in the future. Lin Feng laughed. Yes. Everyone nodded and hurriedly watched. At this time, Black Panther had already reached the center of the plaza. His opponent was a youth in his 20s, a soul ancestor and the strongest team leader of Embark Academy. Today was the first day, and every battle would attract everyone's attention. It was just that the amount of attention was different. As for the Avengers Alliance, they were the most special team. Black Panther's appearance attracted everyone's attention. Even the people on the Snowy Night Emperor's side were very concerned. This is Black Panther Chara. His martial soul is a Wind Shadow Panther, and he's a powerful agility-type soul ancestor. Some people came from the various large duchies and didn't know much about the Avengers Alliance. Those who were familiar with them would introduce them, and such discussions could be heard everywhere. In the plaza, the Soul Master from Embark Academy said, I've heard that your Avengers Alliance is very strong. You're the #1 team in the Heavendo district with a perfect record. But our Embark Academy isn't weak either. If you want to beat us, it won't be that easy. As he spoke, the youth released his martial soul, the iron-horned goat. Lin Feng had seen this martial soul many times. He didn't plan on playing with this guy for long. When the referee announced the start of the match, he immediately made his move. The moment his martial soul entered his body, Black Panther turned into a black shadow and disappeared from the plaza. Take Shi, look carefully. This Black Panther's martial soul is similar to yours. His soul skills are also similar. You have to learn well. Lin Feng suddenly said. Yes. Zhu Zhuqing was stunned, then nodded. This was something that Zhu Zhuqing had discovered long ago. As an agility-type soul master, He Bao was one of the people she had been paying attention to. But at this time, Lin Feng reminded her alone, which made her feel very happy. At this moment, the situation on the battlefield changed. Not long after the Black Panther disappeared, a black shadow appeared behind the young man from Embark Academy just as his martial soul was about to take over his body. Captain, be careful behind you. In the distance, his teammates from Embark Academy shouted a warning. It was too late for the youth to turn around. Without another word, he activated his 4th soul skill in an attempt to block this attack. At the same time, he tried his best to turn around and counterattack. However, a second later, the young man was dumbfounded because no one attacked him at all. Furthermore, when he tried his best to turn around, he did not see anyone. The young man was very puzzled. Where is he? At this moment, his teammates shouted again, Captain, behind you. Behind? Behind what? Wasn't there no one behind him? The captain of Embark Academy was a bit confused right now. Just as he was wondering what was going on, his neck was suddenly grabbed by someone. He was startled and quickly reacted, intending to retaliate. However, his speed was too slow, and he realized it too late. Black Panther pinched him, and, as if he was picking up a chick, he easily threw him out of the arena. After that, the Black Panther said indifferently, Next. So strong. This person's speed is so fast. How did he suddenly run behind that guy again? I didn't even see clearly what happened. Is this soul skill so strong? It can disappear at any time? I didn't see clearly either. Anyway, the Black Panther was behind that person at the beginning. Then, when that person turned around, the Black Panther disappeared again. When it finally reappeared, it ran in the direction that person was originally facing. How'd he do it? Even if his martial soul is the Wind Shadow Panther, it shouldn't be so strong. I saw that his soul ring didn't even light up. For a moment, the students were discussing animatedly and exclaiming in surprise. They only saw the Black Panther disappear, reappear, disappear, and reappear. Then, the opponent was thrown out. As for what exactly happened in the middle, no one knew. On the VIP stage, Ning Fengji turned to Gu Rong and asked, "Uncle Gu, did you see anything just now?" Ning Fengji was only a soul sage. Although his eyes were sharp, he couldn't see through all this. He guessed that this Black Panther should have released a special soul skill that could make him invisible or hide in a shadow for a certain period of time. Gu Rong muttered, "If I'm not wrong, he should have released his soul skill twice in a short period of time." 2 soul skills. Ning Fengji was shocked. "Are you sure? I saw that he didn't even light up his soul ring in the middle." When a soul skill was released, the soul ring would usually light up. That way, the soul skill could be released to its greatest extent. However, for soul masters who were soul sages and above, they could release soul skills without summoning their soul rings as long as their control over their soul power was strong enough. Of course, it was better to summon one soul ring. This was because the soul skill would be even stronger. Just now, when the Black Panther disappeared for the first time, his soul ring lit up behind him. However, his soul ring didn't even appear in the middle. If he really released his soul skill twice in a row, this fellow's control over his soul power was simply terrifying. It shouldn't be wrong. Gu Rong was still certain. Ning Fengji was shocked for a moment, then sighed with emotion. The younger generation will surpass us in time. To be able to have such high control over his soul power as a soul ancestor, his future is limitless. It would be great if we could rope him into the 7 Treasures glazed sect. Ning Fengji had long wanted a rope in the Avengers, but they would disappear after every competition and he couldn't find them at all. It was useless to look for Feng Huai. He was just an empty shell. Therefore, Ning Fengji hadn't been able to talk to the Avengers for a long time. In the Shrek Academy's resting area, everyone was also amazed. "Good fellow, I didn't see the Black Panther use this move during the soul battle. This fellow hid his strength well." Ma Hongjun exclaimed, "That's right, these guys are hiding their strength. This soul skill is very strong. We have to remember it well. Otherwise, it will be terrible if we suffer losses in the future." Dai Mubai nodded. "This isn't just one soul skill, but 2. Tang Xin muttered. "One soul skill was released twice in a row. I reckon the Avengers also have a method to cultivate soul power control, and it's very strong." 2 soul skills? Everyone was stunned. Tang Xin had the highest control over his soul power among the 7 of them, followed by Xiao Wu. The others weren't as strong. Therefore, at this time, only Tang Xin could see this point. Chapter 352. If those were 2 soul skills, why didn't you reveal your soul rings in between? Ma Hongjun asked. Both of them were able to unleash their soul skills consecutively. They could also release soul skills without revealing their soul rings. However, it was very difficult to release soul skills consecutively without revealing their soul rings. Their current control was not at that level. You can do it if you train hard. As Xiao Wu spoke, she directly used her charm twice. Ma Hongjun immediately turned into a pig and only woke up after being slapped by Dai Mubai. "Xiao Wu, you used a soul skill on me just now? Your control of your soul power is so strong." Just now, Xiao Wu had released her soul skill without revealing her martial soul or soul rings. This made Ma Hongjun very surprised. "Yes, it's just a little weak. Boss Dai only hit you once, and you came back to your senses," Xiao Wu said with a look of pity. Under normal circumstances, if Xiao Wu released her charm with all her might, Ma Hongjun wouldn't wake up in a short period of time, even if he was slapped, let alone being slapped. "So powerful, I can't do it," Ma Hongjun said. At this moment, Lin Feng said, "If you can't do it, then train hard. It's not hard to release a single soul skill consecutively without revealing your soul rings. As long as you train, you can do it in half a month at most." Lin Feng's reasoning was very simple. If one wanted to achieve this for all their soul skills, they would need to improve their control of their soul power as a whole. However, if it was just a single soul skill, they would only need to undergo a period of special training. Although this technique is very powerful, it's not something that everyone needs to practice. Some soul skills are much more effective when they are released individually than when they are released consecutively. Furthermore, they will consume more soul power when they are released consecutively. If you don't have any special requirements, you can just release soul skills consecutively. There's no need to hide your soul rings just to keep up. Lin Feng lectured. Everyone nodded one after another, looking like they understood. At this moment, Lin Feng looked at Zhu Zhuqing. Take Shi, did you learn anything from the battle just now? I've learned it. Zhu Zhuqing was a little nervous when he was suddenly called out. What did you learn? Lin Feng smiled. Zhu Zhuqing was at a loss for words. Because in the past, every time Lin Feng taught them something, he would ask them, what did you learn? Then, no matter what they said, it would always be wrong. Feng Ge would always use a novel way to tell you what you really needed to learn. Because of this, Zhu Zhuqing didn't want to talk about what he had learned. But in the end, she nodded and said, I want to practice my third soul skill. As long as I can unleash it quickly, no one can hit me. That's one point, but it's not the main point. Lin Feng shook his head and smiled. The main point is Black Panther's fighting style. After he unleashed his first soul skill, he didn't attack immediately. Instead, he waited for his opponent to unleash their strongest fourth soul skill before he attacked again. At this time, the opponent has already unleashed their strongest soul skill. Even if they reacted, they wouldn't be able to launch an effective counterattack. This method of grasping the opponent's mentality is what you need to learn. I see. I understand. Zhu Zhuqing's eyes lit up. When Zhu Zhuqing was fighting, he liked to wait for an opportunity to make a move. Then, he would find the right opportunity to deliver a fatal blow. This tactic was correct, but it could only be used in a team fight. One needed teammates to distract the opponent. In a one-on-one fight, the opponent would be prepared. This method would be very difficult to use unless one's strength was overwhelming. But Lin Feng's method was to exploit the opponent's mentality and easily cheat the opponent of their defensive soul skill. The opponent wouldn't be able to defend against the next attack. Lin Feng continued, don't just limit it to cheating the opponent of their soul skill. There are many other ways to use it. As long as you exploit the opponent's mentality, you can easily win the fight. This move is called creating a diversion. The tactic of creating a diversion sounded very simple, but in reality, it was very difficult to apply. Seeing that everyone had sunk into deep thought, Lin Feng coughed. All right, the second opponent is up. Let's continue watching. At this time, the second person from Barker Academy had already gone up. He was also a soul ancestor. His martial soul was a rather peculiar sunflower. Just now, his captain had been tossed out of the arena as if he was being toyed with. In addition to Black Panther's next, he was clearly very angry. As soon as he went up, he revealed his martial soul and soul rings. White, yellow, purple, purple. It was very weak, even weaker than the previous captain. But this martial soul was still a little special. The sunflower had a spiritual toxin and was very hard. Black Panther could play with him a little longer. Let the match begin. Following the referee's order, the two soul masters started fighting. This sunflower soul master was very cautious. He released an area of effect soul skill at the beginning to prevent Black Panther from sneaking up on him. However, Black Panther just stood there, motionless, quietly watching his performance. In the Shrek Academy's resting area, Lin Feng smiled and said, this is also a kind of psychological tactic. When Black Panther attacked just now, everyone knew that he had a kind of invisibility attack soul skill. This way, others would be on guard. But he did the opposite. He didn't move and just watched his opponent release soul skills to consume his own soul power. Not long after, his opponent will lose his cool and make the first move. At that time, his opponent's rhythm will be grasped by Black Panther, and he can only be led by the nose. Everyone listened to Lin Feng's words and secretly nodded. At the same time, they were thinking about the meaning behind it. This kind of actual combat teaching was actually quite rare, because Tang San and the others usually trained by themselves and went to the Great Soul Arena for actual combat. And this kind of teaching where others were fighting and Lin Feng's analytical style was almost the first time they encountered it. Under such circumstances, everyone was able to discover something that they couldn't see before, and Lin Feng was explaining exactly this. At this time, everyone listened very seriously. Not long after, everyone discovered that it was just as Lin Feng said. Black Panther didn't make a move, but the Sunflower Soul Master took the initiative to attack. He needed to consume soul power to maintain his soul skill, and if his soul power continued to be consumed, he would definitely lose in the end. And if he didn't maintain his soul skill, the opponent would instantly sneak attack him, and he would still lose. So at this time, he could only take the initiative to attack to have a glimmer of hope. If he didn't, he would lose for sure. In fact, if he took the initiative to attack, he would lose faster. However, Black Panther didn't immediately deal a heavy blow or anything. Instead, he fought with this guy unhurriedly. The two were entangled together, and Black Panther's sharp claws easily left scars on the sunflower. Although they were fighting with all their might, it gave people a faint sense of disharmony. Chapter 353. While He Bao and the sunflower were fighting, Ma Hongjun seemed to have seen through He Bao's intentions and said proudly, "Fengge, I know this. He Bao is fighting to exhaust his opponent's stamina. He's a beast-type soul master, so his stamina is much higher than that of a plant-type soul master." Hearing this, Lin Feng didn't even have time to ridicule Ma Hongjun's intelligence. Xiao Wu said disdainfully, "Fatty is so stupid. He Bao is much stronger than that soul master. Isn't it stupid to exhaust his stamina? From what I see, He Bao is probably afraid it'll end too quickly, so he's deliberately toying with his opponent. Think about it. If you met a plant-type soul ancestor, would you exhaust your stamina with him?" Ma Hongjun, after hearing Xiao Wu's words, Dai Mubai felt the same. "I think so too. He Bao is much stronger than his opponent. If he's serious, he can end the fight quickly. He's fighting now to prevent his opponent from losing too badly." That was why he felt a little out of place when he looked at it. If he explained it this way, everything would be clear. "That's right, that should be the reason." Lin Feng nodded with a smile. Fatty was still a bit stupid. He could actually guess something that could be understood by putting himself in He Bao's shoes. No one else could. Of course, not everyone could see through He Bao's intentions. Some people's eyes might not even be as good as Ma Hongjun's. In the arena, after fighting for a while, He Bao had more or less seen the characteristics of the sunflower. Afterwards, he stopped acting and sped up, sending his opponent flying out of the arena in one move. With the two soul ancestors defeated, Barak Academy was left with only soul elders. There was basically no suspense in the following battles. There was no one left who could fight. However, He Bao seemed to have used up a lot of soul power. Perhaps the remaining 5 people could exhaust him. Otherwise, it would be terrible if they were beaten 1-7. Just like that, the remaining 5 people from Barak Academy went all out, not for victory, but to avoid being beaten 1-7. On He Bao's side, it seemed like he really didn't have much soul power left. When the third person went up, he only spent 10 seconds to end the battle. The fourth person spent 20 seconds, while the fifth person spent 1 minute. The sixth person only took a minute, but Black Panther gave off the feeling that he was on the verge of collapsing. Let alone a soul elder. Perhaps even a soul grandmaster would be able to defeat him with a single soul skill. That He Bao is really strong. That fifth person was only a soul exalt, but his martial soul is the golden bear. He's not any weaker than a soul ancestor. He Bao is really strong for being able to last this long. Is he still not coming down? It looks like he will fall at the first touch. Don't tell me he wants to challenge the 7th person. Barker Academy will definitely go all out in order not to be defeated by a single person. This Black Panther won't be seriously injured, right? Black Panther's strength had been completely displayed in front of everyone, and the battle record of 1-6 was also admirable. At this moment, seeing that he was going to fight the 7th match, there was a lot of discussion. Isn't this Black Panther afraid of being seriously injured? And why do the rest of the Avengers not seem to care? Tang San was a little puzzled. Black Panther's acting was too good. Even Tang San couldn't tell that he was faking it. However, this was a little abnormal. The rest of the Avengers didn't react, which made Tang San a little puzzled. Fengge, can Black Panther win the 7th match? It looks like he's about to fall. Ning Rongrong directly asked. Put yourself in his shoes and think about it. You'll know if he can win or not. Lin Feng didn't answer, but said this. Hearing this, everyone put themselves in Lin Feng's shoes. Ning Rongrong was puzzled. I can't think of why he's continuing to fight. I don't know why either, but I know that he'll definitely win. Tang Sen understood. Right? He'll definitely win, but it'll be a very difficult win. And I don't know why he's doing this. Dai Mubai said in a low voice. The Avengers weren't fools. Since they dared to stand in the arena, they must have the confidence to continue fighting. Their teammates didn't seem to be worried, so they must know this. But there was one thing that made everyone more puzzled. Black Panther's soul power was exhausted, and his physical strength was almost exhausted. Why would he risk getting injured and continue fighting, just to defeat 7 opponents by himself? This didn't feel like the style of the Avengers, because they were too indifferent to fame and fortune. They had the support of the titled battle pet warrior Douluo, and they didn't need to show off their strength. They didn't feel like they were going to fight 7 opponents by themselves. Looking at everyone's puzzled expressions, Lin Feng was also very interested. They would never have thought that Black Panther's persistence was just an act. This was a little psychological tactic. It would make all the academies feel that they could win. As long as they fought a few more similar situations, all the academies would have an idea in their minds. That was to make the Avengers send out a second person. That's right, it wasn't to win at all. It was just to make the Avengers send out a second person. Using small psychological hints, they could make the other academies subconsciously compete with each other. The other academies couldn't even send out a second person from the Avengers. Our academy must do it. As long as we can do it, it means that our academy is stronger than the other academies. It was this sense of competition that made the other academies subconsciously ignore the fact that the Avengers were strong. It was as if defeating one person would mean that they had won everything. Lin Feng was the only one in the entire Douluo continent who could use this unique psychological characteristic skillfully. If you don't understand, then don't think about it. Look at their strength. The 7 members of the Avengers should be able to show a lot of strength in this ranking competition. You guys should learn from them. Lin Feng laughed. The Avengers' fighting style is completely different from yours. If you can learn it, you'll have a higher chance of winning the championship in the finals. Hearing this, everyone nodded. The Avengers were especially strong. They were only soul ancestors, but they were able to defeat so many people. The most important thing was their tenacity. Black Panther was still able to hold on. His tenacity made them very surprised. Barak Academy had 2 soul ancestors. Their strength could be considered in the upper echelons of the 15 teams. If they let Zhu Zhuqing, Ma Hongjun, and the others go, they might not be able to hold on until the 5th person. Previously, when they shouted that they wanted to defeat 7 people, they were talking about dealing with weak teams. For example, teams with only 1 soul ancestor or teams with only soul elders. As for teams with 2 soul ancestors, if they wanted to defeat 7 people, it was estimated that only Xiao Wu, Tang San, and Dai Mubai had the confidence to do so. At this moment, Black Panther, who they didn't pay much attention to before, was actually able to defeat 7 people. They had to treat him seriously. The things that the Avengers had were worth learning from. Chapter 354. On the stage, the last contestant from Barker Academy summoned his martial soul. The Avengers are indeed powerful to be able to defeat 6 of my teammates by yourself. However, I see that you're also an arrow at the end of its flight, so why keep holding on? After this person came up, he even advised Black Panther to leave the stage. In fact, he was also afraid. He was afraid that he would be defeated 7 times, which would be too embarrassing for Barker Academy. So he spoke up to persuade him. After all, when Black Panther finished fighting the 5th person, he also looked like he had used up too much soul power. No one expected him to win in the end. Now, Black Panther was sitting cross-legged on the ground, seemingly meditating to recover his soul power. After hearing this person's words, he didn't react at all. The referee reminded, "Both parties, please get ready. The match is about to begin." The competition had a rule that students couldn't be given time to recover. Originally, the referee should have immediately called for the match to begin, but Black Panther's aura was too strong, somewhat suppressing the entire audience, so the referee reminded him. Let's begin. Black Panther stood up, not making things difficult for the referee. Seeing this, the referee shouted, "Match begin." On the other side, the Barker Soul Elder didn't try to persuade him anymore, but was ready for battle. Lin Feng had seen this guy's martial soul before, so he didn't bother too much. His entire body disappeared, and he attacked that person. He can actually use this kind of invisibility soul skill. This Black Panther's soul power is too much. Someone in the crowd cried out in surprise. In everyone's opinion, this kind of soul skill should consume a lot of soul power. However, Black Panther had already used it several times, and after fighting for so long, his soul power seemed to be more than a Soul King's. The contestant from Barker Academy was also very surprised, clearly not expecting this. However, the reality was as such. Black Panther used his invisibility soul skill and easily appeared behind this person. With a kick, this Soul Elder was directly kicked out of the stage. Originally, Barker Academy's last contestant was the Sunflower Soul Elder, but because of Black Panther's shout, he couldn't help but go up. At this moment, the last Soul Elder was too weak for Black Panther. He didn't even have the chance to react before ending the battle with a kick. I declare Oakland Academy the winner of the second match of the first round. The referee announced. In Shrek Academy's resting area, everyone was slightly strange. This Black Panther has a lot of soul power. I feel like he has more soul power than a Soul King. Ma Hongjun muttered. Everyone felt the same way. After 7 battles, the Black Panther had used too many soul skills, which made everyone suspicious. They should have all broken through to level 48, and not just recently, Tang San said in a low voice. It's been a while. Even if he's a rank 48 soul ancestor, he shouldn't have that much soul force. His recovery speed is far too fast. Dai Mubai commented. At this moment, a loud shout came from the direction of Barker Academy. I'll report it. Reporting Black Panther, a member of the Avengers team, for using a soul stone to recover his soul power during the competition. The person who spoke was the leader of Barak's team. He was a soul sage, and there was a look of disbelief on his face. He had no evidence, but wasn't it obvious? No matter how strong a soul ancestor was, he had already displayed his full strength in the previous 6 matches. After the 6th match, no matter how one looked at it, he looked like he was about to lose. However, in the 7th match, Black Panther suddenly had soul force again. In addition to that, he had meditated to recover before the match. Many people thought that Black Panther had secretly used a soul stone, but at the same time, they couldn't understand why Black Panther would use a soul stone. It didn't make sense. The Avengers were so strong, it wasn't like they couldn't beat Barker Academy. It was simply a one-sided beating. It was impossible for them to use a soul stone and be kicked out of the competition. Just to show off and win a 1-7? The difference between the gains and the effort was too great. No one thought that Black Panther would be so stupid. Because of this, although everyone had their suspicions, they didn't say it out loud. They only thought about it. However, the leader of Barker Academy was furious because he had been beaten 1-7. He felt that it was impossible, so he directly said it. Black Panther was about to leave, but when he heard this, he stopped in place and turned back to watch this person's performance with interest. Do you have evidence? The referee asked. Actually, the referee was also puzzled by Black Panther's situation. However, he didn't see any abnormal behavior from Black Panther during the match. Everything was normal. Now that the leader of Barker Academy said there was a problem, he thought that the other party had discovered something. There must be a high-grade soul stone in his soul tool. Furthermore, it's definitely not full. The leader had a look of certainty on his face. He didn't see any evidence, but it was probably as he said. Black Panther had secretly used a soul stone. Soul tool? Black Panther said plainly, I don't have that thing. Then you must have hidden it on your body. If you don't have a soul stone to replenish it, how can you use so many soul skills? As long as we search your body, we'll definitely find evidence. The leader hurriedly said. It didn't matter if he didn't have a soul tool. Hiding a soul stone in a soul tool was mainly to prevent soul power undulations from being emitted. It was more concealed. It was also possible to hide it on one's body. Under normal circumstances, as long as one didn't look closely, it wouldn't be discovered. You call this evidence? You think I have a hidden soul stone just because you say so? Then I'll say that everyone in your team has a hidden soul stone. Your academy should hurry up and scram. Black Panther sneered. Look, you're anxious. You must have hidden a soul stone on you. Otherwise, why don't you dare to search us? The leader looked as if he had seen through everything. Hearing this, Black Panther laughed. This guy was like a keyboard warrior in his previous life. He clearly didn't know anything, and all he said was bullshit, but he was especially bold and confident. Thinking about it, Black Panther laughed and said, "Friend, you can eat shit, but you can't speak nonsense." What did you say? The leader heard this and shouted angrily. A dignified soul sage was fed shit by the One Soul sect in front of everyone. How could he tolerate this? You're courting death, he shouted and directly slapped Black Panther. How dare you attack a student? How dare you? On the VIP platform, One Soul Douluo shouted and attacked at the same time. On the other side, Feng Huai didn't say anything and rushed towards the arena. However, a figure was faster. He appeared in the center of the arena, out of thin air. He was dressed in a red robe and wore clothes with a different style. How dare you? The man shouted in a low voice and slapped the leader of the group. Bang! This attack was extremely fast. Not to mention a soul sage. Even Douluo couldn't react in time. With a muffled sound, the leader flew backwards as if he had been hit by an elephant. He vomited blood in the air. He spun a few rounds in the air and finally fell to the ground, unable to move. With just one attack, a soul sage was seriously injured. Everyone was shocked. Chapter 355. Who was this? When the leader of the Barker Academy was sent flying, the same thought appeared in everyone's mind. That was a soul sage. How could he be so severely injured in one hit? Could the person who did it be a titled battle pet warrior Douluo? The entire place was silent. No one dared to speak. Even the students from the Barker Academy did not dare to go over to check on their leader. Gu Rong suddenly stood up and leaned towards Ning Fengji. Sect Master, be careful. Uncle Gu, is that the Doctor Strange behind the Avengers? Ning Fengji thought of someone. It should be him. His concealment skills are very strong. I didn't even notice him the moment he appeared. He shouldn't be weak. Gu Rong's face was serious. Titled battle pet warriors Douluo's strength were about the same. As long as his martial soul did not restrain him, he would not be able to kill his opponent. This Doctor Strange's martial soul was very special. He appeared without a sound. Gu Rong was not afraid, but if he suddenly appeared behind Ning Fengji with evil intentions, Ning Fengji would not be able to stop him. Because of this, Gu Rong was very cautious. Not only did he have to protect Ning Fengji, but he also had to protect the Snowy Night Emperor. At the side, Sokka's pupils shrank. This person's martial soul must be very special. His concealment skills were even stronger than Elder England's. Greetings, Dr. Strange. Feng Huai hurried to the center of the field and bowed respectfully. That's right, the person who appeared just now was Lin Feng's avatar. He teleported over and transformed into Dr. Strange. Ignoring Feng Huai, Lin Feng's avatar looked around at the surrounding students. My 7 disciples disdain using despicable methods. I hope such a vile person who slandered others will not appear again. This time, it's a small punishment. Next time, he'll be courting death. His voice was not loud, but spread across the entire field. Everyone could hear him. Although his tone was calm, the person who said this was a powerful titled battle pet warrior Douluo. No one dared to ignore him. Cough, cough. The leader of the Barker Academy coughed twice on the ground, as if to tell everyone that he was not dead. At this moment, the team members from Barker Academy ran up and brought the teacher away, allowing the healing-type soul masters to save him. Without caring about this, Lin Feng's avatar turned around and walked towards the Avengers with Black Panther. At the same time, they were about to leave. Your Excellency Strange, since you're here, why don't you watch the competition with us? The Snow Knight Emperor shouted, sending out a friendly invitation. A title battle pet warrior like Douluo would be treated as a guest of honor wherever he went. As a matter of fact, the competition was not as important as Douluo. That was especially true for a titled battle pet warrior like Doctor Strange, who they didn't know of yet. If they could rope him in or gain his goodwill, that would be a good thing for the Heavendo Empire. Ning Fengji had wanted to say something, but since Shui had spoken first, he decided not to interfere. Sokka's, on the other hand, shut his mouth. After all, this was a titled battle pet warrior like Douluo. He didn't dare to say anything. If he made Doctor Strange hostile towards the martial spirit hall, he wouldn't be able to bear the consequences. No, I'm not interested. Shaking his head, Lin Feng's avatar didn't stay any longer. He quickly left with the Avengers. The Snow Knight Emperor had wanted to say a few words of courtesy, but Doctor Strange was too fast. He disappeared in an instant. He smiled helplessly and returned to his seat. Doctor Strange had said that he wanted to stay and watch the competition, but in reality, he wanted to talk. Any smart person could understand this. However, Doctor Strange had left directly and said that he was not interested. This was a clear indication that this titled Douluo had no intention of interacting with them. He was either like Douluo and didn't like to join a faction, or he had a faction backing him. Sigh. Shui sighed softly. He had a feeling that a storm was coming. The continent of Douluo had been peaceful for more than a decade. In the past year, titled Douluo had appeared frequently. Now, geniuses like the Avengers and Shrek's 7 monsters were participating in the competition. The world was about to change. During this time, Shui desperately wanted to increase the strength of the Heavendo Empire. Recently, he had started to support a few powerful soul Douluo cultivators. He wanted to help them break through to the titled Douluo level. However, this wasn't something that could be done easily. In the past year, not a single one had succeeded. These things made Shui feel a little tired. Your Majesty, are you all right? Ning Fengji asked from his side. I'm fine. Let the competition continue. The Snow Knight Emperor waved his hand and gestured to the judge not far away. The latter understood and announced loudly. During the competition, other than the students, no other Soul Masters are allowed to attack. Barker Academy is warned. If they do this again, they will be disqualified. Now, I announce that the competition will continue. The team leader of Barker Academy had attacked a student. In addition, he had no evidence and was spouting nonsense. Originally, he should have been disqualified. However, he had been severely injured. He had barely escaped with his life, so he would stay for the time being. After all, these academies represented the Heavendo Empire. If they disqualified a team, the Douluo Empire would become a laughingstock. No one had any objections to the judge's words. Even if they did, they had to hold it in. Just now, the titled Douluo behind the Avengers had appeared and said that they hadn't cheated. Who would dare to question the credibility of a titled Douluo? The third round began. It was Shrek Academy's turn. This match was very popular because Dai Mubai, a Soul King, was taking part in the match. However, because of the titled Douluo, there were many people discussing Doctor Strange. Basically, every academy was talking about how Dai Mubai had defeated 7 opponents. Everyone was shocked, but their reaction wasn't as enthusiastic as before. Fenggu, that Doctor Strange was so strong. Do you think he's as strong as Mr. Destroy? Xiao Wu asked with a smile. I don't know. Anyway, he's quite handsome. He's about the same as me, Lin Feng said casually. Xiao Wu, don't think about that. Mubai has defeated 7 opponents. Why aren't you congratulating him? As soon as Lin Feng finished speaking, Dai Mubai came back with a smile. They were too weak. I didn't feel any pressure, Dai Mubai said arrogantly. Although the quality of the previous round couldn't compare to Black Panther's 7 matches, Dai Mubai still had more than half of his soul power left. He didn't use any soul skills just now. He used his martial soul to easily defeat his opponent. Overall, Dai Mubai was much stronger than Black Panther. Of course, the main point was that Dai Mubai was a Soul King, while Black Panther was only a Soul Ancestor. The difference between the two was huge. There was no comparison. Chapter 356. After the Shrek Academy competition ended, Lin Feng suddenly said, "Let's go back. There's nothing to watch in the qualifiers. You only need to watch the Avengers. The rest can wait until the finals. Instead of wasting time waiting here, it's better to go back and cultivate. Aren't we going to watch the Five Elements Academy? They seem quite strong." Tang Sen hesitated slightly. "Then what do you think you can learn from the Five Elements Academy?" Lin Feng asked with a smile. "Their tactics are very distinct," Ning Rongrong said. And Lin Feng raised his eyebrows. And everyone thought for a while and realized that they couldn't learn anything other than tactics. In the individual battles, they displayed their individual strength. And the individual strength of the Five Elements Academy couldn't compare to Tang San and the others. In terms of fighting style, their training was very solid. The fighting style displayed by the Five Elements Academy was also very ordinary. There was no need for them to learn at all. As for collecting information, there was really no need for that. There was a lot that could be collected in the finals. "There's nothing else." Lin Feng smiled. "Just talking about tactics, there's actually no need to learn. Star Luo Empire's balance? Heaven Do Empire's extreme? Why must there be a school of tactics? These are things that only the weak need." What's funny is that the two empires are still arguing about it. Geniuses pay attention to cultivating balance to the extreme. As long as you are strong enough, these schools are a joke to you. Cultivating balance to the extreme. Everyone was stunned and didn't understand what he meant. Lin Feng wasn't impatient. Instead, he explained, "What does equilibrium mean? A soul master can develop in all aspects and not be limited to a single direction. For example, Ning Rongrong's martial soul, 9 treasures glazed pagoda. Her soul skill is balanced and can increase strength, speed, defense, and so on. And Dai Mubai, his soul skill has attack, defense, and status enhancement. Developing a little bit of everything, this is a balanced soul master. Your team is also a balanced soul master with attack, defense, control, and support. The equilibrium style is very powerful and can last for a long time. It's just that it's not very outstanding. Extreme means the opposite of balanced. Extreme soul masters walk a single path, such as healing-type soul masters. All of their soul skills are related to healing. There's also Zhu Zhuqing. All of her soul skills are attack type, and her attack power is very strong. But extreme-style soul masters have a lot of limitations. Let's not talk about auxiliary soul masters. They usually need someone to protect them. In my opinion, this type of soul master is not an auxiliary soul master, but a burden." Everyone was speechless. Hearing this, everyone was speechless. It was common knowledge that auxiliary-type soul masters were protected, but in front of Lin Feng, they had become a burden. She didn't think too much about it, because Lin Feng continued talking. But extreme-style soul masters are different. For example, the students of the Five Elements Academy are all extreme-style soul masters, and so is Zhu Zhuqing. Are these soul masters strong? They're definitely strong, but at the same time, they're also very weak. Their weaknesses are obvious and easy to target. The people of Elephant Armor Academy have strong defense and are slow. The people of God Wind Academy are fast, but their defense is weak. Blazing Fire, Thunder. These academies all have strong advantages, but their weaknesses are also the same. Their attack methods are monotonous, and if they are defended, it is very easy for them to turn the tables. And if they encounter someone stronger than them, then needless to say, they will be crushed everywhere. I think you all have some understanding of these two schools. What I said about cultivating balance to the extreme is actually not talking about your present, but your future. Everyone's cultivation direction should not be just one, but at least two. For example, Zhu Zhuqing's follow-up soul skill does not need to pursue extreme attack power, but can find a life-saving soul skill. Wouldn't that be weak in terms of attack? Ning Rongrong asked doubtfully. Everyone had the same idea. Zhu Zhuqing originally walked the path of extreme attack. If he didn't continue to obtain this kind of soul skill, he felt that his previous efforts would be in vain. Weak attack is also relative. How strong do you think Fatty's soul skill is now? Would a soul king dare to take a full blow from him? Lin Feng asked. Of course not. Don't even talk about those soul kings outside. If Boss Dai was hit by me, even if he didn't die, he would lose a layer of skin, Ma Hongjun said with a proud face. Although he was only a soul ancestor, Ma Hongjun's strength was already comparable to an ordinary soul king. That's right, your attack is already strong enough. As your soul power increases, your existing soul skills will also become stronger. Even if the next soul skill is not an attack type, the strength of your attack will not be much weaker. And if you obtain another type of soul ring, you can improve other aspects of your body. Sometimes this type of soul skill can make your overall strength stronger. Take a look at Xiao Wu. Lin Feng pointed at Xiao Wu. Xiao Wu only has one soul skill that is an attack type. Her second soul skill is a control type, and her third and fourth soul skills are life-saving. But what about her strength? Is she weak? Of course I'm not weak. I'm very strong, Xiao Wu hurriedly said. Everyone nodded subconsciously and pondered at the same time. Previously, they didn't understand the meaning behind Lin Feng's words, but after this explanation, coupled with Lin Feng using Xiao Wu as an example, everyone was enlightened. In their previous impression, extreme-style soul masters were definitely strong in a single aspect, while equilibrium-style soul masters were very mediocre. But now, it seemed that equilibrium-style soul masters could also be as strong as extreme-style soul masters. Of course, these things are only for geniuses. Geniuses are strong, have a fast cultivation speed, and know things that others don't know. Only then can you turn equilibrium into extremes, and only then can you have a stronger overall strength. If you're an ordinary soul master, you still have to choose according to the situation. Although Lin Feng's words couldn't be used by ordinary soul masters, if they thought about it from another perspective, what if ordinary soul masters mastered the control of soul power and had a method to quickly meditate? Under such circumstances, if they walked the equilibrium style, even if they couldn't compare to Xiao Wu, as long as they could reach half of her standard, they would still be considered a genius. Hearing these words, the master felt as if a large bell was ringing in his head. These theories were too powerful. He said with a serious face, Xiao Feng, you should establish an academy in the future. I can imagine that if a group of children can graduate from the academy you establish, their achievements in the future will be at least Soul Douluo. If they're slightly more talented, it won't be difficult for them to become titled Douluo. There was no exaggeration at all. With such a high evaluation, the master was speaking the truth. Chapter 357. The master's evaluation was quite pertinent, and Tang San and the rest expressed their agreement. Flanders and the rest, as well as the substitutes, didn't feel as strongly. At this moment, they were very shocked by the master's words. The students who graduated from his academy were at least Soul Douluo. It was even possible for them to be titled Douluo. This matter seemed impossible. Titled Douluo were so rare that there were only a few in the entire continent. Was Lin Feng really that powerful? Although the master didn't say it explicitly, everyone knew that the students he was talking about were the ones with better talent. Innate soul power of rank 7 and above, and the quality of their martial souls wouldn't be too bad. Such soul masters usually came from some aristocratic or family forces. But even so, if they were personally taught by a titled law, they might not be able to break through to the titled law. Because of this, they felt that the master's words were a little exaggerated. In response, Lin Feng smiled and shook his head. Build an academy? I don't have the time. It's fine if it's just a few people, but if I really manage an entire academy, I'll be exhausted. Although that was what he said, the master's words gave Lin Feng an inspiration. Many places mention a concept, and that was merit. Doing good deeds accumulated merit. In myths and legends, there were sayings of merit becoming saints, merit immortals, and so on. Was merit related to the deity position? Didn't the sea god only condense the deity position after unifying the ocean? Unifying the entire ocean with such great merit. If he didn't become a god, who would? And the inspiration that the master gave Lin Feng was to teach, or rather, to spread knowledge and teach the things that he had researched to the world. He wanted to do the things of the virtuous, great Confucian, and saints, and enlighten the world. If the entire Douluo continent learned from Lin Feng and praised Lin Feng, wouldn't the merit be sky high? The sea god had been a god for so many years. Now, the coastal cities were singing praises of the sea god. If Lin Feng could educate the people, he should be praised for thousands of years. Of course, this was only an idea in Lin Feng's mind. If he really wanted to implement it, it would have to wait until later. Thinking about it, he said, "All right, let's go back. It's a waste of time to stay here." Just as Lin Feng had said, there was no point in staying here any longer. At this moment, everyone gathered together and left the arena. When they left, Tang San and the others were still discussing with Lin Feng about setting up an academy. They all said that if Lin Feng were to set up an academy in the future, they would like to be teachers. All of them were imagining the future, full of youthful vigor. Over at the competition venue, the Avengers and Shrek's 7 monsters departed one after another. Even though the subsequent matches were also very exciting, everyone felt as if something was missing. However, as time passed, this effect began to fade, and the competition regained its enthusiasm. On the surface, it was calm, but the undercurrent was turbulent. It had been peaceful for too long. In the previous Continental Soul Master Tournament, the other academies were just going through the motions. In the end, the Martial Soul Hall won. Some of the powers on the continent were also silent and did not make any movements. Not to mention the title Douluo, even the Soul Douluo, did not come out. In the past year, there had been a lot of big events. At the beginning, the 2 titled Douluo fought in front of the Heaven Do Academy. In fact, not many people knew about it, and it did not cause much of an impact. Later on, 11 Soul Douluo fought against His Majesty Tyrant and were beaten up. This caused a heated discussion throughout the entire process. Then the 10,000-man Soul Master Legion threatened the Shrek Academy, but in the end, it was futile. Since then, the world of Soul Masters had been in an uproar. The title Douluo and the Super Battle. The younger generation of Soul Masters saw the power of the strong, and some of the bigger powers saw the waves. Although there was a period of silence, the Martial Soul Hall seemed to have touched the soul beasts of the Star Do Great Forest. There was a riot there for a few months, and the Soul Masters were suffering. The Star Luo Empire's big sects also seemed to have made some moves. After that, the Avengers entered the Oakland Academy in a high-profile manner, and now, Doctor Strange directly made a move. All of this indicated that the world of Soul Masters, which had been peaceful for a long time, was about to welcome a big storm. Some families and powers with foresight had already started to find a way out. On the surface, nothing could be seen, but many things were going on in the dark. On Douluo's side, he had hacked into the Martial Soul Hall's intelligence system in the past half a year, and he had obtained some information. For example, the Oakland family and the Martial Soul Hall were cooperating, and the royal family seemed to have sent Douluo to lead a team to the coastal area. There was also information about which family Soul Masters had broken through. There was even information about evil Soul Masters, and so on. All of this indicated that the world of Soul Masters was going to undergo some special changes. Of course, all of this didn't affect Lin Feng. Speaking of which, he was the source of the changes in the world of Soul Masters. Otherwise, according to the original story, the world of Soul Masters would have to wait 5 years after the tournament to slowly change. At that time, Tang Sin would return from the City of Massacres and wash off all his impurities. He would also make a trip to the Clear Sky sect and finally start his transformation into a main character. In just a few years, the Martial Soul Empire appeared and the continent changed greatly. Now, this change might be brought forward. Because of Lin Feng's existence, the Martial Soul Hall's plans seem to have to be brought forward. However, the tournament should continue. This was held once every 5 years, and there were still many powers paying attention to it. In the Shrek Academy, after everyone returned, Lin Feng gathered them together. Today, the 7 of you should think about the direction of your future growth. Come up with a conclusion for yourselves. After half an hour, each of you will say it. The 3 people who say it well will be rewarded. Lin Feng said this so that the 7 of them could plan their own paths and walk on the right path. When he became a god in the future, he would bring the 7 of them to fight their way up to the God realm. Wherever there were people, there would be fights. Lin Feng didn't want to go up alone without help. If a group of people went up, at least they could take care of each other. There was a saying that the underworld didn't talk about fighting and killing, but about the ways of the world. Lin Feng knew about the ways of the world, but he didn't want to enter this underworld. It was too tiring. What he wanted to do was to have powerful strength or a powerful force. Only then would he have the confidence to jump out of this underworld. Feng Ge, are you suddenly asking us to do this to prepare us to be teachers in the future? Xiao Wu blinked, still thinking about Lin Feng opening an academy. Lin Feng patted her head. Sure, when I open an academy in the future, you'll definitely be the first to be a teacher. All right, we'll summarize it immediately. Xiao Wu was full of enthusiasm. Chapter 358. The 7 of them dispersed and began to think about their future plans. They would return in half an hour. As for Lin Feng, he wanted to be the life coach of these 7 people. He wanted them to tell him their dreams. At this moment, the master came up to him. Little Feng, the things you taught Xiao San and the rest are all very powerful. If you open a Soul Master Academy in the future and teach these things, the students will definitely be very outstanding. The master still had his own ideas. As a teacher, he actually wanted to spread what he had learned. That kind of attitude of teaching and educating people was only for the sake of teaching good students. From the master's point of view, Lin Feng was a good teacher. The students he taught would definitely be very strong. He didn't want to see Lin Feng's talent buried. In the past, he had worked hard to promote the competitiveness of the 10 great martial soul cores. However, many people still treated his things as a joke. However, Lin Feng's things were different from his. They weren't theories that had yet to be put into practice, but facts. If he taught them, the world of soul masters would definitely change. Lin Feng's name would also be praised. At this moment, the master didn't want Lin Feng to be a teacher or anything. He only hoped that he would have the heart to do so in the future. I've considered this point before. My method of controlling soul power and the soul tool that increases the speed of meditation can actually be disseminated. However, Lin Feng paused and said, "Now is not a good time. Let's wait. We'll talk about it in the future." That's true. I was too impatient. It's good to talk about it in the future. The master nodded and smiled. Master, how's your research on soul tools going? Lin Feng suddenly asked. He remembered that the master said that he wanted to create a soul tool that could check the age of a soul beast and the strength of a soul master. Now that half a year had passed, he didn't know how it was going. It's okay. I think it will be successful in a few years. The master said confidently. Although he hadn't even figured out a complete structure, he had the idea. He had researched some other soul tools before, and he was confident that he could make them. Hearing that, Lin Feng smiled and didn't say anything. Anyway, he felt that it wasn't very reliable. Even if the research was successful, it shouldn't be what he imagined. However, just like before, Lin Feng did not discourage the master. Instead, he encouraged him to continue. After all, the master had nothing to do all day now. Other than spending a certain amount of time cultivating every day, he didn't even need to teach Tang San and the others anymore. It was just that Lu Erlong would come to look for Grandmaster from time to time. In the beginning, Grandmaster was in a good mood. However, after half a year, Grandmaster was also tired. He felt that researching soul tools was much simpler than accompanying women. I hope you can succeed in your research, Lin Feng said with a smile. After exchanging a few words, Flanders came over and called the master away. Something must have happened at the academy. On the other hand, Lin Feng was quietly waiting for the 7 of them to complete their life plans. Very quickly, half an hour passed. Tang San and the 7 of them gathered in front of Lin Feng again. 3 moon fruits. This is my reward. As long as you plan your life well, you can take one. Eating it should be able to raise your soul power to the rank of a soul ancestor. The moon fruits that Little Moon bore were much more effective than the ones that Lin Feng cultivated himself. 1 fruit was equivalent to 4 of the previous ones. However, Lin Feng couldn't take too many of these fruits. Otherwise, it would affect Little Moon's development. Most of the previous fruits were given to Old Jack. Many of the remaining fruits were secretly eaten by Xiao Ying. Lin Feng also felt that they were delicious and ate a lot. There were only 5 left in his hand. Rank 1 soul power. So powerful? Too powerful. Everyone was surprised. Then there were cheers. Long live Feng Ge. Lin Feng smiled. Let's start. Who wants to go first? Me. I want to be first. Let Sister Xiao Wu show you. Xiao Wu immediately stood up and said. She looked confident. As for me, I want to become a Soul King within 3 months after the competition and obtain a powerful offensive soul skill. Then I will go out and try to break through to a Soul Emperor within 2 years, a Soul Sage within 5 years, and a Soul Douluo within 10 years. I want to break through to a titled Douluo before the age of 40. I want to become a god before the age of 60. It had to be said that the goals that Xiao Wu set for herself were very strong. Maybe it was still possible, but to become a god before the age of 60 was a bit wishful thinking. However, she had to make plans for herself. She had to set her goals higher so that there would be pressure. In fact, Xiao had made many detailed plans for herself. However, most of them were just for fun, so she didn't say it out loud. Feng Ge, what do you think of my plans? Xiao Wu asked with a smile. It's a good idea. Work hard. Lin Feng nodded to express his approval. Xiao Wu was a straightforward person. Her life plans were just like that. Lin Feng didn't expect her to be able to come up with anything. Next, Lin Feng looked at everyone. I'll do it. Ma Hongjun laughed. My plan is similar to Xiao Wu's, but my soul power rank is a bit lower. I just want to break through to a titled Douluo before the age of 50. As for soul skills, I think Feng Ge is right. I don't need to only have powerful offensive soul skills. I feel that I can find a defensive or control-type soul skill for my future soul skills. That way, my one-on-one combat strength will become very strong. After graduation, I want to go out and explore for a few years and experience more things. This way, I can be more mature and won't make any decisions that I regret in the future. Not bad. You have a deep understanding of your own strength and also know your own flaws. Lin Feng nodded. Next, Dai Mubai said, after graduation, I have to return to the Star Luo Empire. I might delay my cultivation because of family matters. However, in terms of soul power rank, I also hope to break through to a titled law before the age of 50. As for soul skills, my current 5th soul skill is a powerful defensive soul skill. For the next few soul skills, I can first obtain a control-type soul skill. My 8th soul skill needs to be more powerful. As for my 9th soul skill, I haven't thought about it yet. I'll think about it in the future, depending on the situation. Dai Mubai still hadn't revealed his identity as a prince of the Star Luo Empire. Now wasn't the time, so there was no point in talking about it. It would be better to talk about it after graduation. That's a good idea. However, it would be better if your 6th soul skill was a speed-type soul skill. Mubai, you're already strong enough. As long as you increase your speed, you can easily catch up to your opponents and crush them. A control-type soul skill won't be necessary for you. Lin Feng commented. Then he added, of course it's fine if you choose a control-type soul skill for your 6th soul skill. It'll be even better if you use the power behind your back to obtain a speed-increasing soul bone. Chapter 359. Lin Feng's eyes seemed to be able to see through everything. Listening to Lin Feng's words, Dai Mubai felt as if everything about him had been seen through. I will think of a way. He nodded and fell into deep thought. Next, Lin Feng looked at Oscar. The latter rubbed his head and smiled foolishly. It's my turn. I don't actually have any plans. As an auxiliary-type soul master, when I graduate, I want to continue following Feng Ge if possible. Oscar looked at Lin Feng expectantly. After realizing that the latter's expression didn't change, his expression darkened. However, he continued to smile. Currently, I have 4 soul skills: recovery, detoxification, flight, and attribute amplification. These are actually the same as Rongrong's. They're also the development of the balance style. However, according to Feng Ge, auxiliary-type soul masters must also have the ability to fight. Therefore, in the future, I must also have a soul skill that can make me stronger. For the mirror beast that I mentioned last time, I must obtain one of its soul rings. Perhaps it can allow me to obtain a soul skill that can replicate the strength of others. This way, I can be considered to have the strength to protect myself. As for the title Douluo, I don't actually have too much hope of achieving it. The effects of the immortal medicine can last until I become a soul sage. After that, my soul power cultivation speed will become extremely slow. Reaching the soul Douluo level before the age of 50 is already my goal. Perhaps his identity as a commoner was relatively lowly. Even if Oscar had the extremely rare innate full soul power, he still didn't have too much confidence. He only had extravagant hopes of becoming a titled Douluo. Be optimistic. Auxiliary-type soul masters aren't inferior to battle soul masters. Lin Feng encouraged. Furthermore, your thinking is very correct. Support-type soul masters must have the ability to fight. Even if they don't have soul skills, they must equip themselves in other aspects. For example, Xiao San's hidden weapons can be extremely powerful in your hands. Thank you, Feng. With Lin Feng's encouragement, Oscar was very excited. Lin Feng smiled. Next, I'll do it. Ning Rongrong stood up and said, after I graduate, I should be able to return to the sect. With Grandpa Jian and Grandpa Gu around, I shouldn't have any problems obtaining soul rings. As for soul skills, our 7 treasures glazed sect's martial souls are rather special. Our soul skills are all the same, and there's no way to change them. However, I'll carry Third Brother's hidden weapons with me. After that, I'll undergo some physical training. Coupled with the amplification for my soul skills, I won't be any weaker than some soul warriors. As she spoke, Ning Rongrong suddenly looked at Lin Feng. By the way, Feng Ge, can I follow you after graduation? Following Lin Feng was something that Ning Fengji had told her a long time ago. After graduation, she would follow Lin Feng and train for a period of time. In addition, Ning Rongrong also liked Lin Feng, so she was very willing to ask. We'll talk about it later. There's still quite a bit of time before graduation. Lin Feng didn't agree, but he didn't reject her either. Next, Ning Rongrong originally wanted to say something, but Zhu Zhuqing stood up at this moment, so she shut her mouth. Actually, Fenggu also mentioned my plan in the previous competition. My next choice of soul skills will be life-saving and concealment skills. Although they won't be offensive soul skills, not only will my strength not weaken, but it will also become stronger. Furthermore, I've discovered that as long as I control my soul power properly, I can create many powerful soul skills. My attacks won't necessarily be weak. As for my soul power rank, I want to break through to Soul King within half a year and become a titled Douluo before the age of 43. 43 years old. When everyone heard this number, their expressions changed slightly. Everyone knew that the current most talented titled Douluo on the continent was Hao Yanduo, who was also Tang San's father. He became a titled Douluo at the age of 44. However, Zhu Zhuqing said that he was 43 years old, and his ambition was huge. He wanted to surpass Tang Hao. However, she also had the strength to do so. It could be said that among the 7 people, Tang San and Zhu Zhuqing were equally hardworking. If Zhu Zhuqing had met Lin Feng in Nodding City back then, her soul power might have reached rank 48 by now. Xiao was 48 now. There was no comparison. She ate the yearning broken red sausage. If she ate the same herb as Zhu Zhuqing, she would probably be 46 now. However, Tang San didn't eat the herb that increased his soul power rank. If he did, Tang San would probably be like Dai Mu Bai, rank 53. There was a difference of 7 ranks between 53 and 46. It could be seen that Xiao Wu was much lazier than Tang San over the years. Take Shi, you're ambitious. Records are meant to be broken. I believe in you. Lin Feng gave Zhu Zhuqing a thumbs up. Zhu Zhuqing's face turned red after being praised by Lin Feng. He originally had something to say, but now his heart was beating faster. He sat down. Dai Mubai shook his head when he saw this. He could tell that Zhu Zhuqing had fallen in love with Lin Feng. He didn't feel anything. After all, this fiancé was just a joke made up by the people in the empire. It was the kind of marriage that was arranged before they were born. It couldn't be taken seriously. With their current level of talent, they would definitely be able to decide their own marriage when they returned to the Star Luo Empire. Next, Lin Feng looked at Tang San. Tang San was mentally prepared with the previous people's foreshadowing. At this moment, everyone looked over. He slowly stood up and smiled. I'll break through to the title Douluo before I'm 40. In terms of soul skills, I don't have much to pursue with my blue silvergrass. I can only continue on the path of control. In terms of offense, I don't lack any. Furthermore, I have the 8 spider spears, and my defense is extremely strong. Therefore, I just need to follow my original plan. Lin Feng had said that he couldn't reveal his twin martial souls. Therefore, Tang Sin hadn't revealed his clear sky hammer until now. In the original novel, he seemed to have revealed his clear sky hammer during the qualifiers. In fact, it was very stupid. Didn't you see that Gui Mei and Yu Guan came to kill Tang San right after? If Ning Fengji hadn't been beside him, he would have been dead. After graduation or after this competition, I'll look for the Clear Sky sect and my father. If I can't find them, I'll continue to increase my strength. I'll look for a soul sage again. As for the Tang sect, I'll expand in the future. If you don't have anywhere to go, you can come to the Tang sect. Tang San smiled. Not only did he express his thoughts, but he also threw out an olive branch to the others. Ma Hongjun smiled. That's great. I'll go out and explore in the future. After that, I'll come to the Tang sect. Oscar hurriedly said, Me too. When the time comes, I want to join the Tang sect too. Both of them were civilian soul masters. They hadn't thought of where to go after graduation. Now that Tang Sen had invited them, they were very happy. Chapter 360. Welcome to my Tang sect. When you come, you can all become elders. Tang San was very happy. At this time, everyone had a good relationship, just like roommates in college, but after graduation, they would have to separate. But now that Tang San heard the two of them say that they wanted to follow him, it was like looking for a job in the same company after graduation. It was a very happy feeling to be able to see each other every day. Good, you all have good ideas, but I think the 3 best plans are Xiao San, Take Shi, and Fatty. Lin Feng said with a smile. Hearing this, a smile appeared on the faces of the 3 of them, while the other 4 didn't have any expressions of jealousy on their faces. They were just very envious. Ma Hongjun shouted directly, Long live Feng Ge. Lin Feng continued, the other 4 are also very good. Everyone will be rewarded with half a moon fruit. With that, Lin Feng took out a total of 5 moon fruits. 3 of them flew to Xiao San, Take Shi, and Fatty, and the other 2 were divided into 4 by Lin Feng and handed to the remaining 4 people. Long live Feng Ge. Feng Ge is so cool. Everyone shouted in unison. Hurry up and eat. After eating, cultivate well, and strive to break through 1 level. Lin Feng had a smile on his face, and he was in a good mood. Hearing this, the 7 of them hurriedly ran into the meditation room, ate the moon fruits together, and then began to meditate. The moon fruits were sweet and fragrant, and they melted in their mouths. Pure soul power flowed in everyone's bodies, strengthening their soul power. Dai Mu Bai was a soul king, so his absorption was faster, and he only ate half a moon fruit. He was the first to wake up. His soul power rank didn't change, still at rank 53, but he was 1 step closer to rank 54. The second to wake up was Xiao Wu. Although she only ate half a moon fruit, her soul power was abundant before, and now she directly broke through to rank 48. The third one was Oscar. He had broken through to level 47, and he was very excited. The fourth was Ning Rongrong. She hadn't broken through yet and was still level 43. However, she wasn't far from breaking through. She should be level 44 by the end of the ranking competition. The fifth to wake up was Ma Hongjun. He had eaten a moon fruit and had broken through to level 45. The sixth was Zhu Zhuqing. Like Ma Hongjun, she was also level 46. As for Tang San, he wanted to break through a major stage, so he took a little longer to meditate. After the other 6 had finished their meditation, he finally leveled up to level 50 under everyone's watchful eyes. Xiao San, you caught up with me. You're amazing. Dai Mubai sighed. Now, everyone directly ignored Lin Feng when comparing because there was no comparison at all. They were in a completely different world. Third brother, congratulations. Everyone congratulated him. Third brother, you don't have to participate in the competition for the next few days. Finding a soul ring in the setting sun forest is more important. Otherwise, after the ranking competition, we'll have to leave for the border between the two empires. At that time, if we want to hunt soul beasts, we'll have to go to the Start Do Great Forest, Ning Rongrong said. She was very familiar with the process of the competition. That's right. The finals won't last very long, only a dozen or so days. If we don't find a soul ring now, it'll be too late by the time we reach the border. Ma Hongju nodded. At that moment, Lin Feng walked in. There's no need to wait a few days. I'll take Xiao San to the setting sun forest today and try to find a suitable soul ring in one night. We'll be back before the competition tomorrow. Fenggu, it's so far away. Can you make it back in time? Tang Xin swallowed his saliva. Although the setting sun forest wasn't far from Heavendo City, a round trip would still take more than 6 hours. It was already afternoon. By the time the two of them reached the setting sun forest, it would already be evening. If they wanted to make it back before the competition tomorrow, they would only have half a night to hunt soul beasts. In such a short time, not to mention finding soul beasts, even entering the middle section of the forest would be difficult. However, Fenggu never spoke carelessly. Now that he had spoken, he definitely had a way. Have you forgotten about the soul fusion skill? It can fly. A round trip won't take much time, Lin Feng said with a smile. Fenggu, the soul fusion skill consumes a lot of soul power. It'll take at least an hour to fly back and forth. Will your soul power be enough for such a long time? Tang San asked hesitantly. Why are you talking so much nonsense? We'll know when the time comes. Let's go. Lin Feng grabbed Tang San and walked out. In the same place, everyone was stunned. It took a while for them to react. Ma Hongjun muttered, Does Fenggu mean that his soul fusion skill can last for a few hours? I think so. Fenggu should be able to last that long. Ning Rongrong's mouth was also slightly agape. Although Lin Feng didn't say it clearly, everyone could understand the meaning behind his words. Everyone knew that a martial soul fusion skill consumed a lot of soul power. The martial soul fusion skill they unleashed could only last for 5 minutes at most. If they were stronger, the duration would be a little longer. But a round trip of more than an hour, wasn't this a little too long? If Fenggu could really last, then how strong was he? He definitely wasn't just a soul king. He should be close to a soul emperor, or perhaps the soul sage. If he really was a soul sage, everyone wouldn't be too surprised. After all, it was Fenggu, a man who often created miracles. Just as everyone was guessing at Lin Feng's strength, he had already left Heavendo City with Tang San. Fenggu, what's your rank now? Tang San was held in Lin Feng's hand. They were only running, but it felt like they were flying. This made him a little dazed. If I casually mention a rank, would you believe me? Lin Feng asked with a smile. No. Tang San shook his head. Fenggu would never tell the truth about his strength. This was a principle that he and Xiao Wu had concluded over the years. Then that's it. You don't believe me when I say I'm a soul king. You don't believe me when I say I'm a titled Douluo. Isn't it the same? Lin Feng was speechless. Ever since he taught Tang San and Xiao Wu how to conceal their strength, the two of them didn't believe him anymore. In fact, they couldn't be blamed for not believing him. The main reason was that when Lin Feng beat them up, he said he was only a soul grandmaster. One had to know that Xiao Wu and Tang San were both soul grandmasters at that time. An assault-type soul grandmaster and a control-type soul grandmaster. The two of them combined couldn't beat Lin Feng and were beaten up the whole time. Who would believe that? Then can Fenggu help me find a suitable soul ring tonight? Tang San asked. Although Fenggu said that he could find one, and Feng Ji's words were usually true, one night was too short. Tang San wasn't very confident. Chapter 361. Remember when I told you last time that your mother's martial soul might be the Blue-Silver Emperor? Lin Feng put Tang San down. As he spoke, his soul power surged, and he used 2 martial soul fusion skills in succession. He and Tang San began to fly towards the setting sun forest. There were many people here, so no one saw the two of them take off. Flying at a low altitude in the dense forest, their speed was still very fast. Feng Gu, do you mean to bring me to hunt 10,000-year blue silvergrass? Tang Sen asked. Not to hunt, but to find a blue-silver emperor. Lin Feng corrected Tang San's words. Blue-silver emperor? Tang San was stunned. A blue-silver grass soul beast that cultivated to 50,000 years could be called a blue-silver emperor. Only those that reached 100,000 years could be called a blue-silver emperor. Their bloodlines would evolve, and Tang San's mother, Ayan, had the bloodline of the blue-silver emperor. To be precise, her bloodline should be called the blue-silver emperor. After all, she was a female. Tang San's blue-silver grass had inherited the bloodline of the blue-silver emperor. Lin Feng wanted to find a blue-silver emperor for him. This way, he could help Tang San awaken his bloodline and then directly obtain his fifth soul ring. Isn't the blue-silver emperor above 50,000 years? Even if I meet one, I won't be able to absorb its soul ring. Tang San was slightly puzzled. Tang San had a rough estimate of his current physical fitness. His fifth soul ring should be able to absorb a 30,000-year soul ring at most. Any higher, and he wouldn't be able to bear it. It's not to hunt, but to help you awaken. Lin Feng explained. You mean to say that you want a soul beast to help me awaken? How is that possible? Without knowing that his mother was a soul beast, Tang San didn't dare to believe that a wild soul beast would help him. Your bloodline has a natural suppressive effect on them. It's like tigers and cats. When they meet you, they will voluntarily submit to you, said Lin Feng. Really? Tang San still didn't believe it. But then again, wasn't the blue-silver emperor bloodline something that only 100,000-year-old blue-silver grass possessed? How lucky was his mother to awaken such a martial spirit? Tang San could never have imagined that his mother was a soul beast. He hadn't learned anything about this, and Lin Feng hadn't told him about it either. You'll know when the time comes. I found traces of the blue-silver king in the setting sun forest. I'll try to find it tonight, Lin Feng said. Lin Feng had found a blue-silver king when he'd been searching for plant-type soul beasts, and now he could use it. He just didn't know if it was still there. After all, plant-type soul beasts of this level were very fast. Plant-type soul beasts can run. Tang San was stunned. Plant-type soul beasts were especially good at camouflage, especially those that were over 10,000-year-old. It was very difficult to recognize them. Many plant-type soul beasts weren't recorded, and their habits were unknown. So until now, Tang San's impression of plant-type soul beasts was that they stayed in place without moving. Even if they could move, they wouldn't run like ordinary soul beasts. At most, they would move slightly. But according to Lin Feng, there were traces of the blue-silver king, which meant that it had moved quite a bit. Of course it can run. Generally, 10,000-year-old plant-type soul beasts can move long distances. At 50,000-year-old, their speed is even faster than ordinary soul beasts. Lin Feng explained. Actually, there were many special plant-type soul beasts. Lin Feng remembered that there was a very special tree that wasn't recorded in books. Lin Feng named it the evasive tree. Why was it called that? As the name implied, this tree could burrow into the ground. The tree was very short, and it could burrow into the ground at an extremely fast speed. Lin Feng couldn't catch it. How rare. Tang San had learned something new. Suddenly, Tang San thought of something. The blue-silver king was a 50,000-year-old soul beast. If Lin Feng could encounter such a soul beast, he must have gone deep into the setting sun forest. Did Mr. Destroy accompany him? Or did he go alone? If it was the former, it was still acceptable. If it was the latter, he could wander alone in the territory of 50,000-year-old soul beasts. His strength was simply unimaginable. But if Lin Feng didn't have that kind of strength, how are they going to find the blue-silver king this time? With that thought, Tang San asked, Feng Gu, isn't the blue-silver king a 50,000-year-old soul beast? Are we going to find it directly? That's right. Lin Feng nodded. Tang San, is it just the two of us? Isn't Mr. Destroy going to accompany us? Tang San asked a little bluntly. Lin Feng smiled and patted Tang San's shoulder. Xiao San, when the time comes, we'll have to rely on your blue-silver emperor. I found that place when I went with Mr. Destroy. There are 50,000-year-old soul beasts nearby. When we go in this time, you have to use your martial soul to sense the Blue Silver King. Only then will we be safe. Otherwise, it will be dangerous. Mr. Destroy isn't nearby. Little guy, you still want to test my strength? Lin Feng easily resolved the trap in Tang San's words. Tang San was stunned. That's too careless. Why don't we go back and ask Teacher Dugu to come with us? That won't do. How can you let outsiders know about your blue-silver emperor bloodline? This is not a small matter. We have to be careful. Lin Feng said. The blue-silver emperor was an extremely powerful martial soul. It was worlds apart from the blue-silver grass. As long as Tang San underwent a second awakening, his strength would increase by another level. Speaking of which, Xiao Wu's martial soul could also be called the soft-bone rabbit emperor. Her martial soul had changed from an ordinary soft-bone rabbit to a top-level soft-bone rabbit. Then wouldn't that be too risky? Tang Sen asked hesitantly. If they encountered a 50,000-year-old soul beast alone, Tang Sen was confident that he could deal with it. However, the setting sun forest was the lair of soul beasts. If they encountered a 50,000-year-old soul beast here, it would be too dangerous. If they fought for a while, they could be surrounded by other soul beasts. I believe in you. Lin Feng patted Tang San's shoulder and smiled happily. Tang San wasn't stupid. He quickly understood. Fenggun never did anything that he wasn't confident in. This matter would definitely succeed. He didn't have to worry about anything. His current worries were deliberately created by Fenggun. After understanding, Tang San didn't ask any more questions. The two of them flew towards the setting sun forest. Flying was much faster than traveling on land. Previously, Tang San estimated that it would take them more than an hour to make a round trip. However, it only took them half an hour to reach the edge of the setting sun forest. At this speed, they only needed an hour to make a round trip. It was too fast. Chapter 362, Setting Sun Forest. Lin Feng was very familiar with this place. It was almost like his backyard, and he could walk around it with his eyes closed. After arriving here, Tang San subconsciously prepared to descend and walk forward. Lin Feng grabbed him. What are you doing? Fenggu, Grandmaster said before that we must not fly in the Soul Beast Forest. That will be considered a provocation to the Soul Beast territory, and we will be attacked. Tang San said. Nonsense. Don't listen to him. Lin Feng waved his hand. He's just talking about theories. What did I tell you last time? Practice is the only standard to test the truth. Have you forgotten? You can only listen to Grandmaster's words, but you can't believe them completely. Whether or not it's true, you have to test it yourself. With his strength as a Soul Grandmaster, what can he test? It's all guesswork. But that's what the books say. Tang San whispered. Oh, you dare to talk back. Bang! A flick of the head landed directly on Tang San's head. I haven't finished speaking. Lin Feng continued. What I mean is that there's no need to descend from the outer region. Wait until we reach the middle region. Oh, Tang San rubbed his head, feeling wronged. Let's go. Lin Feng continued to fly forward with Tang San. At the same time, Lin Feng explained, what the books say is not completely correct. Actually, you can fly in the sky above the Soul Beast Forest. Generally speaking, soul beasts are territorial, but there are very few soul beasts that can attack the sky. It's very rare to encounter one. Usually when you're attacked by flying, it's usually because you're attacked by a soul beast on a tree before you can even fly into the sky. Or if you're flying in the sky and invading the territory of a flying-type soul beast, you'll be hunted down. As long as you observe and fly in the sky, you'll be fine when you see a flying-type soul beast in the distance. That seems to be the case. Tang San pondered and nodded. He thought about it for a moment and remembered that the incidents of being attacked in the air were all recorded in the book. It seemed that they were all attacked by the soul beasts on the trees when they wanted to fly into the air in the forest. As for flying in the air and being attacked by flying-type soul beasts, it didn't seem to be recorded in the books. Don't take it for granted. Lin Feng continued. After all, there are only a few things recorded in books. There are many things that aren't recorded in books. Just like I told you, The Blue Silver King can run like a normal soul beast. Will you record this in a book? Or should I say, spread it out specifically? No. Tang San shook his head. He thought for a moment. If he knew these things, he would only remember them in his heart. He would not specifically talk about them, let alone record them down. That's why you shouldn't jump to conclusions before you experience some things for yourself, Lin Feng preached. Of course, there are some things that you shouldn't try. For example, flying in the Soul Beast Forest. If you're alone, don't try it. The reason why I brought you with me was because Mr. Destroy told me how to do it. Otherwise, I wouldn't know how to fly. Thank you, Feng Ge. Tang San smiled. What the master taught Tang San was more theoretical and then let him practice it himself. As for what Lin Feng taught him, most of it had already been practiced. When he taught people, he wouldn't just say it once. He would personally guide him step by step. This way, Tang San would have a very deep impression of him. Tang San realized that the best thing he had done in his life was to become sworn brothers with Lin Feng and Xiao Wu. Lin Feng was closer to him than his own brother. Tang San felt a sense of care that he had never felt before. Sometimes, Tang San even missed his father. But when Lin Feng appeared, that feeling of longing faded a lot. Lin Feng let Tang San experience the feeling of home. Okay, let's go down. The place where I saw the traces is just ahead. There are a few small mountains there. There will be flying-type soul beasts living there. We can't fly anymore. With that, Lin Feng brought Tang San down. Feng Ge, which way should we go? Tang San asked. There's no need to go. Lin Feng looked at Tang San and said, stay here now and use your heart to feel your martial soul. Feel the nearby blue-silver grass. They will tell you where the Blue Silver King is. Blue silver grass was one of the most common weeds on the continent. It was everywhere in the setting sun forest. And if the Blue Silver King was nearby, the blue silver grass would definitely know its location. If Tang San carefully felt it, there would definitely be a result. Is it really effective? Tang San said with some uncertainty. In the original work, because Tang San obtained a skull soul bone, his spiritual power had reached a certain level. Under Tang Hao's guidance, he awakened his bloodline. Now, Tang San didn't obtain a skull soul bone, and his spiritual power wasn't strengthened by the soul bone. However, because Tang San's control of his soul power had become stronger, his spiritual power had also increased. Although it hadn't reached the level of the original work, under the situation where his soul power and spiritual power complemented each other, he could still feel the blue-silver grass. Moreover, Tang San's physical fitness was a bit stronger than in the original work. Overall, there was no problem for him to awaken his bloodline now. Don't worry, carefully feel it. The blue-silver grass will give you feedback. Lin Feng pointed at Tang San's chest. Remember, use your heart to feel it. Don't treat them as ordinary grass. Treat them as life that is connected to your bloodline. Tang San nodded cautiously and closed his eyes. Lin Feng smiled slightly. A ball of life force appeared in his hand, then turned into specks of starlight and scattered towards the surrounding blue-silver grass. Within a few seconds, the surrounding blue-silver grass grew several heads. Tang San didn't have much of a reaction at first, but when the blue-silver grass grew, his body emitted a faint green light, as if he was resonating with the blue-silver grass. Tang San's face was full of smiles, a very warm smile. The blue-silver grass martial soul naturally appeared in Tang San's hand, and the surrounding blue-silver grass swayed one after another, as if they were cheering. Strands of green silk were pulled out and merged with Tang San's blue-silver grass. At this moment, the blue-silver grass in Tang San's hand emitted a different aura. At this moment, Tang San opened his eyes and said happily, Feng Ge, I can feel it. It's true, this group of blue-silver grass seems to be connected to me. So do you know the location of the Blue-Silver King? Lin Feng asked. I know, it's right in front. Tang San pointed towards the northeast. Let's go. Let the Blue-Silver King awaken it for you. After that, your martial soul will completely transform. Lin Feng stood up and walked towards the northeast. Tang San pondered as he followed. His blue-silver grass appeared like a road sign, leading the two of them towards the Blue-Silver King. Chapter 363. Tang San's blue-silver grass emitted a lifelike radiance. Wherever he went, the blue-silver grass would cheer as if they were welcoming the arrival of their emperor. "How do you feel?" Lin Feng asked with a smile. This feeling of being surrounded by special effects was something that Lin Feng could also do, and it would be even stronger. When his vitality was emitted, all the plants around him would cheer for him, not just the blue-silver grass. "Feng Gu, I feel warm, as if I'm in my mother's embrace." Tang San's face was filled with happiness, as if the entire world had wrapped around him. "Remember this feeling. When you awaken later, maintain this state," Lin Feng said. And Tang San nodded. Just like that, the two of them walked forward with the support of the blue-silver grass. The trees in this area were very ancient. There were towering trees everywhere, and even the sun couldn't shine through. As the two of them walked, the surrounding trees grew taller and taller. Finally, the two of them arrived at a valley. At this moment, Tang San could hear a special spiritual call. It was very old, but also very familiar. "King, I'm here, right in front." Tang San's face was filled with joy, and his footsteps quickened. Lin Feng followed behind and didn't say anything. After passing through a few ancient trees that required 10 people to wrap their arms around, Tang San stopped in front of a plant. This was a special plant about 10 meters tall. At a glance, it looked like a stitched monster made of countless vines. Its entire body was clear blue, and its skin emitted a light blue light. It was reflecting the light of the blue-silver grass in Tang San's hand. This was the blue-silver king. It had a cultivation of 65,000 years, and the blue-silver grass around it was exceptionally lush. At this moment, the blue-silver king swayed its body slightly. The vines rippled, and a blue halo condensed together, condensing into a human face. "King, you're finally here." The blue-silver king's big mouth opened and closed slightly. Oh, it can even talk? Soul beasts that were over 10,000 years old would gradually gain intelligence. Generally speaking, soul beasts that were over 50,000 years old would be able to speak as long as they met a lot of humans. As for Xiao, Ying, and Little Moon, the former was more special. It had leveled up too quickly and had not learned to speak yet. However, it could now communicate with Lin Feng on the mental level. Little Moon probably didn't have much contact with humans. It had always been deep in the forest, so it didn't know how to speak. It was as silly as Erming. However, Lin Feng had encountered many soul beasts that could speak in the forest, but most of them were animal-type soul beasts. Lin Feng was rather surprised that the blue-silver king could speak. Tang San was also astonished. He hadn't expected a plant-type soul beast to be able to speak. However, with Lin Feng's guidance from before, he didn't panic too much. Instead, he said, "My martial soul needs to undergo a second awakening. Can you help me awaken it?" The blue-silver king replied excitedly, "Of course." The blue-silver emperor's bloodline is the noblest bloodline among the blue-silver grasses. All of the blue-silver grasses are your subjects. "Your Majesty, this is my honor." Tang San was embarrassed to be praised like this. This was the first time he had been praised like this. In the past, when he saw Feng Gu being praised like this, he would think that Feng Gu was shameless. But now, after experiencing it for himself, Tang San knew how strong Feng Ji's heart was. In the face of so many people's praises, his expression didn't change, and his heart didn't skip a beat. It was truly amazing. "No, don't call me that. Just call me Tang San." Tang San waved his hand, his face burning. "How can that be? Your Majesty is a supreme existence among the blue-silver grasses. All of us will forever be your subjects." The blue-silver king's tone was full of humility and respect. Don't say that. Just call me Tang San." Tang San's face turned even redder. He didn't even dare to look at Lin Feng. Lin Feng coughed dryly. "Xiao San, let it awaken you quickly." To be honest, the moment the blue-silver king spoke, Lin Feng knew that it was an old bootlicker. It was too much of a bootlicker. Look at how Xiao San was scared. His face was as red as a ripe apple. Yes, awaken for me." Tang San nodded. The blue-silver king glanced at Lin Feng, but it didn't say anything. Instead, it shouted again, "Your Majesty, please feel the worship of your subjects." As the blue-silver king's voice fell, it was as if a drop of water had fallen onto a calm lake. An enormous aura spread out from the blue-silver king towards the entire forest. Specks of blue starlight quietly emerged from every strand of blue-silver grass. They emitted a faint glow and slowly condensed towards Tang San in front of the blue-silver king. Perhaps 1, 10, or 100 strands didn't mean much, but what if it was an entire forest? Although the setting sun forest couldn't be compared to the Stardow Great Forest, it was still extremely large. The entire forest, including all of the blue-silver grass around it, emitted a faint blue glow. After the starlight appeared, it condensed towards Tang San like a blue ocean. Everyone who saw this scene, including all the soul beasts, were shocked. Lin Feng could feel that an enormous devouring power had appeared on Tang San's body. This power continuously devoured and fused with the blue ocean of light. Gradually, Tang San's aura began to rise. He remembered Lin Feng's words from before. He was in a special state, without any thoughts or worries. Generally speaking, when one's strength increased, the body wouldn't feel very good. Sometimes, it would be very painful. However, at this moment, Tang San didn't feel any pressure at all. His entire body felt warm, as if he was lying in his mother's embrace. This gentleness made him feel very at ease. He didn't know when, but tears had already streamed down his face. At this moment, Lin Feng realized that Tang San's skin was slowly turning a sparkling blue. The blue-silver grass in his hand shone brightly and fused with the surrounding blue-silver grass. In the next second, countless strands of blue-silver grass drilled into Tang San's body and wrapped around him, emitting a sparkling blue light. Yellow, yellow, purple, black. Tang San's 4 soul rings appeared naturally. Countless strands of blue light drilled into them and changed his soul rings. The evolution of a martial soul was comprehensive. Not only the martial soul itself, but the soul rings would also evolve. When the 4 soul rings were wrapped in blue light, Tang San's blue-silver grass began to evolve. The blue-silver grass blue color became more transparent, like a resplendent sapphire. In the center of the blue color, a golden pattern quietly appeared. It spread from the roots to the leaves, making the originally mysterious blue-silver grass even more noble. At this moment, the true blue-silver emperor had finally awakened. Chapter 364. The evolution of the blue-silver grass into the blue-silver emperor was an incomparably huge change. At this moment, the light on Tang San's body turned from pure blue to bluish gold. On the surrounding ground, every stalk of blue-silver grass grew crazily in this light. When this bluish gold light bloomed to the extreme, Tang San's awakening was complete. The light began to fade, and the blue-silver grass on his body. Oh no, it had already become the blue-silver emperor. The blue-silver emperor began to slowly dissipate, and the soul ring also quietly disappeared. In the end, Tang San, whose temperament and figure had changed greatly, was revealed. He had grown a little taller, his muscles were much more restrained, and he had become more coordinated. His black hair had turned dark blue, giving off a special feeling. He didn't know how to describe it, but it could be summed up with one word: noble. That was the emperor's aura that belonged to the blue-silver emperor. In the entire continent, he was the only one who had such a special aura. Just when Lin Feng thought that it was over, the blue light that had not completely dissipated finally condensed behind Tang San, turning into a brand new black soul ring. 45,000 years. This was the age of the soul ring that Lin Feng sensed. It was 15,000 years more than the 30,000 years previously estimated. Good heavens, this cheat is ridiculous. As everyone knew, the number of years one could absorb a soul ring mainly depended on the strength of the soul master's physical fitness. After completely absorbing the soul ring, one's soul power rank would increase, and only then would one's physical fitness increase. This was a cause and effect relationship. One had to absorb the soul ring to become stronger. However, Tang San's was especially ridiculous. He was doing the opposite. First, his physical fitness would become stronger, and then, according to his current physical fitness, he would condense a soul ring. This scene really stunned Lin Feng. There is such a thing? Your Majesty, wake up. The past is the past. We need your protection. The blue-silver emperor called out softly. It could feel Tang San's sadness, so its tone was very gentle. Lin Feng, who was standing at the side, felt that something was amiss. However, he didn't say anything and just watched quietly. Thank you. Tang San opened his eyes and looked at the blue-silver king. At this time, Tang San's temperament had changed greatly, and he looked much more handsome than before. If one really wanted to compare, he was almost comparable to Lin Feng. Of course, Tang San was not as handsome as Lin Feng. We should be the ones thanking you, Your Majesty. Because of Your Majesty's appearance, the life force within our bodies was awakened. The blue-silver king sighed. Your Majesty's fifth soul ring was formed according to the limits of your body. According to the human world's calculations, it's equivalent to a 45,000-year soul ring. I have a soul ring? 45,000 years. Tang San's mouth was slightly agape, his face full of disbelief. Although he had thought that it would be 30,000 years, he had never thought that he would be able to obtain such a powerful soul ring. It would be good if he could obtain a soul ring of 25,000 years or more. But now he had given him a 45,000-year soul ring. Most importantly, he hadn't even killed a soul beast. So how did he get a soul ring? This point really made Tang San a little confused. At this time, Lin Feng spoke. The essence of a soul ring is the source of energy. What you absorbed just now was the energy emitted by all the blue-silver grass in the forest. It comes from the same source as you, so you were able to obtain a soul ring when you awakened it. This is your opportunity, and it's not something that you can encounter at any time. When the soul ring was condensed just now, Lin Feng watched very carefully. He was studying it. This was a research that specialized in soul rings. It was not a sudden decision, but something that Lin Feng had started studying a long time ago. When he saw Xiao Wu spontaneously condense a soul ring, Lin Feng wanted to see if he could analyze the principles of soul rings and then condense a soul ring himself. However, he didn't know much at that time and didn't research much about soul rings. After a few years, there was no progress. Later on, after Xiao Wu condensed a 10,000-year soul ring, Lin Feng studied it for a period of time, but the situation was the same. He didn't find anything. The main thing was that there were no examples of this situation at all, so Lin Feng couldn't use it for experiments. So after so long, he didn't have a clue. However, he still knew some characteristics of soul rings. For example, their essence was an energy source, and soul rings seemed to be a special rule. It should be a rule of Douluo's continent, just like how his twin martial souls couldn't use martial soul fusion skills. Soul rings were also a rule. They could only be produced under certain rules, such as Tang San's martial soul awakening this time. His martial soul resonated with an entire forest of blue-silver grass, and he just happened to reach rank 50, so he was able to obtain such a soul ring. With this conclusion, Lin Feng realized that it was currently impossible for him to create a soul ring for himself, unless he could transcend this Douluo's world and condense it directly with his divine power, just like the God-bestowed soul ring. Logically speaking, this kind of God-bestowed soul ring couldn't break through 1,000,000 years, but as long as Lin Feng's body was strong enough, he could directly obtain a 990,000-year soul ring. Lin Feng now had an idea. After obtaining the God-bestowed soul ring, he would study it carefully and see if he could think of a way to create it. It was fine if he couldn't create it, but if he could, then he would make a fortune. This was actually part of the reason why Lin Feng's second martial soul didn't have a set of soul rings. Think about it. If all his soul rings were God-bestowed soul rings, how many experience points would he save? A conservative estimate would be in the tens of billions. For this operation, Lin Feng was worth waiting for. At this moment, the blue-silver king said, "This soul ring didn't come from the outside world. In fact, it was condensed by you. It will evolve as your Majesty's body grows stronger. Perhaps when your Majesty reaches the title Douluo's level, This soul ring can also break through to 100,000-year soul ring. Really? Tang San had a look of shock on his face. 45,000 years was already enough to shock him, but now there was another big piece of news. 100,000-year soul ring. Your Majesty, of course it's true. The Blue Silver King had a look of certainty on his face. Fengge, in the future, my soul ring can reach 100,000-year soul ring. Tang San said to Lin Feng with a look of excitement. Don't make a fuss. It's not even 100,000-year soul ring yet. It won't be too late for you to be excited after 100,000-year soul ring, Lin Feng said calmly. Oh, Tang San still couldn't suppress the excitement on his face. Although that was what he said, Tang San knew that his soul ring would reach 100,000-year soul ring sooner or later. He didn't even have to wait until he reached the titled Douluo level. His body might be able to withstand 100,000-year soul ring when he reached the soul Douluo level. And according to the Blue Silver King, his soul ring would also break through to 100,000-year soul ring. At that time, his strength would definitely be extremely strong. Perhaps his soul Douluo level would be comparable to a titled Douluo. Chapter 365. Seeing the joy on Tang San's face, Lin Feng shook his head and said, although 100,000-year soul ring is strong, Xiao San, you have to know that it is not invincible. There are still 200,000 years, 300,000 years, and even 1,000,000 years above the 100,000-year soul ring. Above the 100,000-year soul ring, there is still the hurdle of becoming a god. You must not be arrogant because of this. Fengge, I know. I will continue to work hard. Tang San withdrew his smile and said solemnly. At this moment, Tang San suddenly realized that the sky had darkened. He asked, Fengge, did it take long for me to awaken my martial soul? And it took about 6 hours. It was evening when we came in, and it is already late at night now. Lin Feng nodded. After the blue ocean gathered, Tang San slept for a few hours in the vines. In total, it was about 6 hours. Thank you, Fengge, for protecting me. Tang San expressed his heartfelt gratitude. Although he and Lin Feng had already transcended ordinary feelings, there was no need for words of thanks. But this time the favor was too great. It allowed Tang San to experience the feeling of motherly love, and it also allowed his martial soul to awaken a second time. This was undoubtedly a new life for Tang San. This trip to the setting sun forest can be considered to have ended successfully. You obtained a soul ring and awakened your martial soul. Let's go back first. If you have anything to say, say it on the way. Lin Feng did not beat around the bush. Tang San nodded. After expressing his gratitude to the Blue Silver King behind him, the two of them walked out. After the awakening of his martial soul, Tang San had changed a lot. Blue Silver Grass was a trash martial soul, but the Blue Silver Emperor was definitely a top-notch martial soul. Moreover, it was the only martial soul that possessed the bloodline of an emperor. The Blue Silver Emperor had an innate skill, a kind of blue-silver domain. In the forest where there was Blue Silver Grass, Tang San would obtain a strong boost in strength. Now that he was walking in the forest, Tang San didn't have the slightest bit of fear. Instead, because of the Blue Silver Grass everywhere, he felt like he had returned home. Tell me, how much stronger have you become? Lin Feng asked after walking for a while. Lin Feng had already forgotten many details regarding Douluo's storyline. He had also forgotten what soul skills Tang San had after his martial soul awakened. Therefore, he was quite curious about Tang San's current strength. I'm now at rank 53. This 40,000-year soul ring has allowed my soul power to break through 3 ranks. Tang San smiled. My 5th soul skill is called Blue Silver Tyrant Spear. It's a single-target soul skill that can summon a spear with extremely high attack power. I reckon it can even break Boss Dai's shield. A 45,000-year soul skill was extremely powerful. Furthermore, Tang San's martial soul had directly evolved. If he used it now, the White Tiger Shinrock shield might not be able to defend against it. Also, because of the evolution of my martial soul, my other soul skills have also been strengthened and become more powerful. Now, Even if I don't use the 8 spider spear and hidden weapons, ordinary soul emperors are my match. Tang Sen didn't need to hide his strength in front of Lin Feng, so he told him everything. Also, I feel that after my martial soul evolved, as long as there's blue silver grass around, my soul power will be strengthened and recover especially quickly. Lin Feng smiled. This is called a domain. Your current strength is still relatively low, so it's only the embryonic form of a domain. In the future, when your strength is higher or your proficiency in soul power increases, you'll be able to use it. Domain? Fengge, what's a domain? This was the first time Tang San had heard this term. Grandmaster had never mentioned it before. A domain is a special soul skill that only titled Douluo level experts can use. It's extremely powerful. Grandmaster is inexperienced and doesn't know about this. Fengge, I'll explain it to you today. Lin Feng smiled. This domain is generally divided into 2 types. One is the functional type, and the other is the combat type. For the functional type, most domains have auxiliary effects. For example, this embryonic form of your blue-silver domain right now. Does it allow your soul power to recover very quickly and your soul power to become stronger? Yes. Tang San nodded. This type of domain that only has auxiliary effects on oneself is called a functional domain. The other type of combat domain is also effective on the enemy. Some domains can weaken the enemy's speed, and some can directly weaken the enemy's strength. These are called combat domains. Furthermore, combat-type domains are generally stronger than functional-type domains. Think about it. My domain can reduce your strength by 20%, and then I can increase it by 20%. Adding all of these together, it's equivalent to a 40% increase in strength, which is more or less enough to crush my opponent. Hearing this, Tang San was shocked. Is a domain that powerful? A 40% difference might not be much for low-level soul masters because the base strength of soul masters at this time was not high. With a difference of several times in strength, it was possible to turn the tables. But if it was at the level of a titled Douluo, then 40% was basically crushing. If one was faster, one could escape, but if one was slower, one was basically courting death. Soon, Tang San thought of something and asked, Fengge, if both of us have domains that can weaken the enemy's strength, what would the situation be? That's a good question. Lin Feng said, it depends on the strength of both parties as well as their control over their soul power. The 2 domains will first cancel out a large portion of each other's effects, and then the stronger domain will suppress the other domain, resulting in an overflow of additional effects. For example, Mr. Destroy and Douluo, if both of them have domains that can weaken each other's strength by 20%, and both of them can activate them. Mr. Destroy is definitely stronger than Douluo, then his domain will suppress Douluo's domain, thus reducing the opponent's domain attribute by 18% or less. In this way, Mr. Destroy can weaken Douluo's strength by 2%. To put it simply, it's a subtraction. 20 minus 18, 2 more than you. This is the difference between domains. I see. Tang San nodded and roughly understood. Lin Feng smiled. You don't have to think so much. In the end, the main thing is still strength. The effects of domains are generally not as exaggerated as I said. Now, your blue-silver Emperor Martial Soul has a special embryonic form of a domain. Practice well and try to manifest this domain as soon as possible. This will greatly increase your strength. I will, Fengge. Tang San nodded. Just like that, the 2 of them rushed toward Heaven-Do City. After Tang San broke through to Soul King, his physical fitness had increased greatly, and the martial soul fusion skills he could withstand had also become stronger. Thus, the 2 of them flew from Setting Sun Forest to Heaven-Do City in less than 20 minutes.